Hey everybody, welcome. So today we are going to have a very special guest, Jason Unruhe. It's going to be somewhat
The first 5 minutes are a repeat, but we're doing it anyway.
of a debate.
It's at 1.25 times speed.
So this should be fun. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications bell. Tweet this out. It should be a debate, an interesting discussion, something like that. So I'm going to put on the opening credits and then we'll bring on Jason.
The American century. I say that the century on which we are entering can be...
Oh yeah, the bot.
The century of the common man.
A radical redistribution of economic power.
I mean, we know that racism is just it's a byproduct of capitalism. Everything would be all right if everything was put back in the hands of the people.
We need a government that will make sure Americans are taken care of and organize the economy to serve the people, not the profits of.
Where's my car?
We now have the techniques and the resources to get rid of poverty.
We got to start getting out there with the people.
Get out of the movement and get to the masses.
I love him putting himself in there. Right next to MLK, dude. I love that. That's so fucking good.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much. And welcome, Jason. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Great. So I guess the
Where's
first
my
question
car?
I wanted to ask you was shortly before this debate, I think you were unhappy that I referred to you as Maoist rebel Jason Unruhe. What would you like me to call you?
Jason Unruhe, as you have always called me for years.
Oh, it's
Okay,
here.
so you don't want Maoist rebel in front of your name?
That's not how, that's the name of the show. That's not my name.
Okay, I just thought that was the name of your brand. I meant no offense by it, and I'll actually go and change it right now while we're talking, if you don't mind. You know,
Well, that's kind of undercut by the fact that you put it in quotation marks.
that's what you call your brand. I mean, no offense was made by it. So
Right off the bat.
yes, I just want to ask you a series of questions and give you an opportunity to respond. The first one that I wanted to ask you is back in 2017, when you and I were still on friendly terms, the World Festival of Youth and Students, which is a global communist gathering, was happening in Sochi, Russia, for the 100-year anniversary of the Bolshevik Revolution. And, you know, the communist parties of the world were going to be there. The DPRK, which you're very supportive of, you know, sent delegations, the Communist Party of Vietnam. And I really wanted you to go to that. And I reached out to you, and, you know, the organizers of the festival had seen your work online, the good work you were doing, defending DPRK, defending Cuba and such. And they wanted you there. You didn't really seem interested in going. Why not?
I can't.
Why
Technically
not?
speaking, I'm in an economic condition right now where given a particular relationship and dynamic that I have with the government, I have to report any time that I leave the country for any extended period of time. And that's not something I can do. There's a complicated situation there. But then I don't know what this has to do with my allegedly childish attacks on you.
Well, I'm sorry.
It's almost like you're trying to frame me as a person who doesn't care about the global movement. I really see this has nothing to do with what it is that you asked me to come on here for.
No, I mean, it was just a series of things I was going to ask you about. But, you know, I thought it would have been really awesome if you'd have been there because, you know,
I would like to have gone.
Yeah, my social media was at that point way smaller than yours was.
I would have
the amount
liked
of
to have
people
gone.
around the world that I met who like my work, who recognized me and such, and the communists around the world that pay attention to, you know, what we do as communists in the Western.
What do you think he
capitalist
did?
countries is
Probably
really
some
important
government
because, you know,
insurrection
so many
shit. I don't
places in
fucking
the world,
know.
Indonesia, the Philippines.
I don't think it's like a
Africa, they're under the
pedo
gun
thing
of
or
US
whatever.
imperialism. So, you know,
I don't
whenever
know,
there's
though.
people in Canada or the United States that are talking against imperialism, talking about socialism, they're very interested in it, and it's very important what we do. And that actually brings me, so there's a document that I've always really liked, and it's called Long Live Leninism. It was published in 1960 by the Chinese Communist Party. It's one of the main documents that Mao wrote to criticize the revisionism of Khrushchev. And I'm actually dropping it in the chat right now so people can take a look at the link. And my next question is basically, you know, one of the most important paragraphs in that document. It says, the liberation movements of the proletariat in capitalist countries should ally themselves with the national liberation movements in the colonies and dependent countries. This alliance can smash the alliance of the imperialists and the feudal comprador reactionary forces in the colonies and all dependent countries, and will therefore inevitably put a final end to the imperialist system throughout the world. That's what I view my work as doing, trying to align the working class movement in the United States with the people around the world that are struggling against U.S. imperialism. What are you trying to do for that end, to achieve that?
What makes you think America is an ally of these things? The problem lies in what America is, what it has always been, and what, as long as it's America, what it will always be. Whatever vision of America you may or may not have with what it is that you want America to become, that is not what America is. And if that were to be achieved, it would no longer be America. It would no longer be what it is.
Okay, but I'm asking you, though, what are you trying to accomplish in aligning the liberation movements of the proletariat in the capitalist countries with the national liberation movements around the world?
To forward anti-imperialism. I don't understand what the point of your question is.
Well, like, I mean, my reading of that document is that those of us living in Western capitalist countries like Britain or France or the United States or Canada,
Yes,
it's our
I get that part.
responsibility, yes,
But I don't understand how
to align the working people of this country with the national liberation movements. And I'm just asking, what are you doing toward that end, or do you not think that's a good thing to do?
It's funny how this has turned into a criticism, and I will answer your question. I will answer your question. It's interesting that you...
Oh, just so you guys know, there's no good guy here. I know normally when we watch other like videos like this, it's like, oh well, you know, this person's better. No, these two are both like lunatic lol cows. They both called me pedophiles. They both called me a pedophile. They're both psychotic. This is just psychotic infighting. Can you summarize who Unruhe is? So the main difference we're gonna have here is like what type of fascism that we're dealing with. Unruhe, Jason Unruhe, the bearded guy, is a third worldist. So basically, like, he fucking hates America. Whereas Caleb Maupin has been trying to sell this, like, American nationalist patriotic socialism thing, where, like, the founding fathers would have wanted you to be a national socialist. Like, it's all incoherent bullshit, okay? It's different flavors of incoherent bullshit. Yeah, that's it. It's yeah. Duganist versus, like, third world Maoist.
Wanted to talk about my quote-unquote childish
we'll get
things
to that.
about you. Yeah, it'd be great if you actually did get to that instead of trying to turn it into something where you grill me. This goes back to, again, to your fraudulent accusation that you made against me at the beginning of all this, saying that I was pro-imperialist. You know, it was the last message I sent you on Facebook before you blocked me. You said that I was pro-imperialist, and I called you out to a debate, and then you hid for a year.
Okay, well...
But to answer your question,
I think this is very related, actually. That's why we're talking about what it means to be an anti-imperialist in the Western countries.
I think I know. It's the very center of everything that I do. It's the first and foremost and primary contradiction.
So let's talk about it.
No, actually, your thing is about America. That's why you're a patriot.
Talk about that.
And that's why you don't support revolutionary suicide.
Okay. All right. So
exactly.
Answer my question, please.
By allying myself and pushing I'm answering it right now.
Okay.
By pushing the idea of anti-imperialism and not supporting the substance of what America is, not just what America in the form that it takes, but the very substance, the very soul of what it is and what it was founded upon, opposing that, to push an anti-war sentiment, a real one, not a, Trump thought we shouldn't go to war, but it's nonsense because it still went on. Regardless, by pushing the anti-war sentiment, the anti-imperialism, by allowing people to see what the damage that's done by imperialism, and more importantly, to have them understand why imperialism is a natural product of capitalism and why it can only ever be something that it produces. There's no way getting around it.
Well, I mean, as far as Trump, I called out Trump for his criminal murder of Qasem Soleimani, the leader of the Islamic opposition. And Trump brought us to the brink of World War III, and he talked kind of anti-war on the campaign trail, but his presidency was an absolute disaster. I didn't vote for him the first time, didn't vote for him the second time. Now, that said, I mean, in some ways you might be able to argue he's better than Biden, but he still sucked. He was an awful president. So, I mean, as far as that, but I guess my question is, if we're trying to get working people in the Western capitalist countries to see people around the world struggling with U.S. imperialism and struggling against Canadian imperialism or French imperialism or British imperialism, you know, to see the people around the world struggling against imperialism as their allies, how do we do that?
I literally just answered that.
So by telling them about it, like making them feel guilty, is that?
No, by showing them what it is that it's doing. That when they go to war, this is what happens. When a country comes up with another lie and another justification for going to war, these are the consequences.
STO, these are some wacky people.
The people of these countries.
Yes.
But you don't think linking it to what these evil corporations, the same corporations tied into wars around the world, do at home, you don't think that's a good thing to do?
I don't necessarily see the exact importance of that. I explained, as I said, to link it to capitalism and why it can only ever do what it does and why the system needs to go.
Well, I mean, I look at the fact that, you know, the same corporations that manufacture tear gas that was used against police brutality protesters in Ferguson, Missouri, manufactured tear gas for Israel. That the police department of St. Louis, Missouri is trained in Israel. I show that is a way of linking what the Palestinians are struggling against with what the black people of the United States are struggling against by making this, you know, common bond, or showing that, you know, the big oil companies that are reaping in super profits from these high gas prices are also the big oil companies that have kept Nigeria chronically poor for hundreds of years, despite at this point being the top oil exporting country in Africa. I think making those links and showing that the same corporations that are hurting American workers are also the same corporations that are pushing imperialism and devastating people around the world. I mean, I think showing American workers that they have an economic interest in defeating imperialism is our duty.
I don't think this is necessarily wrong at all.
Imperialism doesn't benefit them.
It does benefit them. That's why imperialism exists.
It does benefit them.
Yeah, that's how rich countries become rich and poor countries stay poor.
Well, this confrontation with Russia has resulted in higher food prices, higher gas.
That's an entirely different situation.
No,
Russia,
that's imperialism. The domination
no,
of the world by big corporations and banks,
wrong.
and drug cartels and syndicates. That's
Wrong.
what I define imperialism as.
Wrong.
It's not about the
Wrong.
definition of imperialism. It's about whether or not the country is being plundered by the United States, which it isn't. It's absolutely incomparable to
So if anyone's wondering where exactly we're at, the basic gist of it is that Maupin's framing is like a Caleb Maupin is all like, workers of the world unite. We have to unite against our open parentheses, open parentheses, open parentheses, overlords, close parentheses, close parentheses, close parentheses. Kind of like a nationalist internationalism with heavy JQ influence. But on the other hand, unruhe, I think unruhe actually a lot more politically principled. Basically coming out here with the hard left, you know, saying, yeah, no, you're never going to get the American people against imperialism because the American people benefit from imperialism, you know? Now, I don't agree with that perspective, but I do think that Jason Unruh is a lot more politically consistent than Caleb Maupin is. Caleb Maupin is a paid propagandist who will say literally anything he's told to by his masters. Well, until he got fired from RT. I think Unruh actually has a relatively consistent worldview. Even if I think it's psychotic, it is consistent, I think. A little more consistent, maybe. I don't know.
to take a country like Indonesia or Thailand or Honduras and compare it to Russia. That's simply ridiculous. That's an inter-imperialist. I'm not. I am
comparing it to what is going on in the United States. That the same big corporations that are pushing a confrontation.
Yeah, I just answered your question as to what the difference is.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I'm going to mute you if you don't stop interrupting me. Now, the same big corporations that are pushing for a confrontation with Russia have also hurt American workers, and so opposing this confrontation with Russia and fighting for jobs and schools and housing for American workers walks hand in hand, does it?
Okay, and your point being?
My point being that these imperialists are not patriotic. They are hurting American workers. They're hurting American families. They're setting up a low-wage police state. They've set up a prison industrial complex. They're driving down living standards. And they're also pushing for war abroad, and that we share a common destiny. The working people of the United States, their interest lies in standing with the people of Africa and Asia and Latin America against U.S. imperialism.
Yeah, and let me know when they start doing that.
Well, that's our job, Jason. That's our job.
That's what I've been trying to do. That's what we've both been trying to do. So I don't see what the point of contention here is.
Neither do I, and I don't understand why the hostility. But I guess now, since we
because the way you're trying to phrase things,
we both agree, based on what you're telling me, that it is our job as Marxists in the Western capitalist countries to show a common interest between the working people here and their struggle against capitalism and the working people around the world and their struggle against imperialism. We agree on that. So we've established a point of agreement. So that brings me to a number. We're here to talk about your statements, and here we go. This is a statement that you made. I've got the screenshot. I'm just going to add it here to the stream. So I said, one odd pattern that you notice when looking over the history of Asia is that Christianity, brought by European missionaries, frequently got hijacked by revolutionaries, reinvented and utilized by peasant revolutionary uprisings. This happened in Korea, Japan, China, and elsewhere. You responded by claiming that is historical revisionism.
It is.
Okay.
When did Maupin get fired from RT? RT closed all their offices in America. RT doesn't have American correspondents anymore because they stopped being their TV network provider stopped hosting them after the invasion. Wait, the many was fired? Yeah, well, yeah. If they're not operating here, they're not going to maintain like the wages of correspondents in a country that they're not, you know. It is pretty funny.
So did the Shimabara rebellion in Japan happen?
And exactly of what relevance is it?
Well, this was in 1637.
1637?
Yes.
We're talking about Marxism.
Okay.
We're not talking about 1637.
Okay, I'm going to mute you now. In 1637, the people of Japan had an uprising. The peasants had an uprising. After being converted to Christianity, they built a revolutionary army to fight against feudalism. And they fought against feudalism. It was a huge civil war. It was a big, well-documented moment in Japanese history that after Christian missionaries had brought Christianity there, revolutionary forces tweaked it and changed it and made it their own. It wasn't the European Christianity. They, as I said, they hijacked it, and they led a revolutionary uprising against feudalism in Japan. You claim that you have some evidence that this is all a hoax, this is a historical fraud, so please go ahead.
Well, now that you've unmuted me from trying to answer you, by the way, I don't really think you're one that can complain about anybody talking over them, considering the last time we did a stream like this, you talked over me, but I digress. As I had already stated, this has nothing to do with Marxism, and that's the point.
I just said this is an odd historical pattern. And
yes, when you were doing this, justifying Christianity, being a Christian communist. Yes, you did, because it was at the same time.
All right. Also, there was the Taiping uprising of
Wait, he interrupted Unruhe. He interrupted the answer. He's going to mute him on that?
People died. They were led by the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom, which was a Christian movement of peasants that fought against feudalism in China. When Mao took power, he actually built a monument to the Taiping uprising. It's in Tiananmen Square. This is the biggest civil war in human history, in which Christian peasants in Asia, who were converted to Christianity, they tweaked it and adopted it for their own ends. They had an uprising against feudalism. Now, do you have evidence that this is a hoax? This is a fraud. It never happened.
As I have already said once, and you muted me as I was trying to answer you again, this has nothing to do with Marxism. That may be historically true. May or may not. I don't know. That was not the point of contention. The point of contention is that you posted this in order to justify Christian socialism or building a revolutionary thing around Christian. Because that was what you were going on about at the time. So now you're just simply denying. So now you're just taking exactly what I said, denying the context. Okay.
So you're basically saying that I said something that is historically true.
No.
And you claimed it was
wrong.
False because you don't agree with a point you think I was trying to make.
Taiping Revolution. How many people died here? 20 to 30 million. Holy shit. This was like a World War level fucking death count, except it was in one country. Holy shit. Wait, no, this is a different revolution. This is 1850. Wait, did he say 1850 or 1650? Did I mishear? I thought we were talking 400 years ago, not 200 years ago. 1650s. Well, the Taiping Rebellion was 1850. What are we referring to then? What revolution are we referring to? Okay. The Taiping Rebellion? Yeah, but that started in 1850. The 1600 one is Japan? Okay, whatever. No, I don't care.
Is that correct?
That's not the point you were trying to make, and we're going to disagree on this. And once again, you muted me as I tried to answer.
Yeah, because you're interrupting me.
I'm not interrupting you.
He interrupted Unruhe.
Historical fact, and you can believe the Taiping Uprising was very important to Mao, and studying it happened shortly before he was born, and the fact that he built a monument to it after he took power, it was a very important event. It's very relevant to Marxism.
Never said it wasn't.
You just said we're not talking. This isn't Marxism. It's not relevant because we're not talking about Marxism. I'd say it's pretty relevant. It's very similar to the peasant wars in Germany, an entire book that was written by Friedrich Engels about how the peasants in Germany, again, in the name of Christianity, rose up against feudalism. This is very relevant to Marxism. Marxism is a framework with which you can understand the entirety of human history. So you can study historical events from a Marxist framework, and it is true that many times throughout history, in Asia and elsewhere, and in Europe and in all kinds of places, there are people who, in the name of Christianity, have risen up against capitalism and imperialism. They've hijacked it as their own. That is a historical fact, and I don't know why you would deny a historical fact simply because you don't like something that you think I meant when I said it or something. I don't get it.
So the critical distinction here, and the reason this argument from Maupin makes no fucking sense, is that Unruhe's argument is that people won't rise up against imperialism conducted against other countries. That people in a country wouldn't be willing to destabilize their own government for the benefit of the imperial of the imperial periphery. But what Maupin is citing here is examples of countries rising up against imperialism they've been subjected to, which is a totally different thing.
Okay, now that took long enough. You're misrepresenting what I said. I'm not saying these things weren't of any historical significance. I didn't say that. I did not say. No, I did not. No, you know, as I had already clarified, that this was not about that. This is about modern day, and you pushing a Christianity view. I am not denying these things in the past.
Yes, you are. You called it historical revisionism.
No, I am not. I am saying specifically right now. That's not what this is about.
999.
Yeah, actually, it is. If you say something's historical
revisionism. No, that's not what I'm saying. I am not saying that these things didn't happen.
Well, then why did you call it historical revisionism?
I didn't. In the context, you're changing the context of what I'm saying.
I mean, your tweet is right there.
You're changing the context of what I'm saying.
Everyone can see what you said. It's right there, Jason.
You dishonest piece of shit.
I talked about historical facts.
You're completely misrepresenting what I'm saying,
my friend.
Because I just said you're misrepresenting what I said. Yeah, I think that is a reason.
You're misrepresenting what I said.
That's exactly what Vaush did to you.
No, I said historical facts.
Hi, Mom.
Historical revisionist. You denied history basically because you don't agree with me.
I am saying right now specifically, I am not denying those things happened, nor did I intend to say that then. I was specifically referring to modern day and Marxism. Yes, such and such individual. Okay, so you say, I don't believe you.
Okay, so You claimed that me talking about a historical event was false because you believe that
No,
I'm
in
using
the
it
context
make
that you
a point
attempted to
about
portray it.
something now. What is the context? I'm talking about history.
The context, which I have already said 3 times previously, was you were using this as a justification to push Christian Marxism.
No, I'm using this to talk about history for the same
I'm gonna
reason
have to
Frederick
disagree with you.
Engels, for the same reason that Frederick Engels talked about the peasant wars in Germany, right?
I'm sorry, but there would be no point to me denying this. It doesn't even make any sense in that
Well,
context.
then why did you use the term historical revisionism?
Because I was specifically referring to.
I mean, you didn't think to like Google this before you accused me of making up and lying about history?
I didn't claim that you lied about what happened.
Wait, does Caleb Maupin think that historical revisionism only means denying that a thing in history happened? He keeps saying over and over, like, well, why'd you say I'm doing historical revisionism if you believe that this event happened? He actually believes, that's actually what he thinks. That's actually the level that we're on right now. Okay.
Apparently, here's some historical revisionism. Apparently, Christianity was communist.
not in the context that you were
when
trying to
spread by
frame it.
murdering and raping missionaries, which I didn't say. I said it was hijacked and utilized. And also, South Korea was the only predominantly Christian country, not others. The magic of Maupin thought. So it sounds like you're saying that the only place this could have possibly happened is South Korea, which is not what I said. I just decided to do the Shimabara rebellion. I just decided to do the Taiping uprising. You didn't think to like Google this, do a little research before attacking me?
Because they weren't relevant to the point I was
It really looks
making.
in this tweet. It really looks like you're trying to say that I just made this up or I lied.
my
That's
God.
That's what
No,
is
you're
implied in your tweet.
misrepresenting what I'm saying.
Well, I think people can look at it. It's right here on the screen, and they can decide for
No,
themselves.
no,
It
you're trying
really
to weasel
sounds
your
to
way
me-
out of it.
No, I'm
You're trying to
showing
weasel your way out of it
These
by
are your words.
misrepresenting what I'm saying. You
No, I'm
know
not. Your words are
specifically
right
that I'm
there.
talking about
I mean, is this a
Marxism because I
fake
have told you
screenshot?
This is the most productive tanky conversation that has ever happened. The records of this debate will be annaled in the logs of Marxist-Leninist Maoist literature to divine and interpret the like. This is so fucking on point. Holy shit. Yeah. I feel like I can't side with anyone here. I can only really say like how many retard points are going to one person as opposed to another. Like it's basically just a counter, right? Right now, I think Caleb is comfortably holding the retard torch, in my opinion. I feel like he's like it's like the speaking conch, you know, in Lord of the Flies, and I feel like he's got it so far. But that's a temporary thing. That could be, you know, it's like gender identity. That could change at any moment.
multiple times.
Is this a fake screenshot?
No.
Okay.
What?
So it was.
So I'm not lying about anything you said.
Yeah,
I
you
got
are
your words
lying.
right there. No, I'm not. I've
You
got
are
your
lying.
exact
You're
words.
lying about the context.
Oh boy. Okay. But speaking of that, since we are talking about Christianity, now I'm going to take it off the screen here, but I think everyone's had a chance to see it. So, you know, I'm not trying to falsify.
No, the tweet's still there.
Yeah. So there you go. All right. Now you made a video. Let me adjust this. You made a video. I like it's better when we're in the full thing here. You made a video on March 26th, 2022, called Caleb Maupin's Racist Pandering. And
Ooh.
at 5 minutes and 3 seconds into the video, you referred to this book, Jesus is a Socialist, that I published. And you claimed that in this book I advocate a theocracy, and that I say that, you know, people that people are commanded by God to follow me. Can you tell me what page that's on? I've got the book right here. So
No,
what
it's
page-
not
what
specific
page-
wording. It's in the substance of what's being
So
said.
is it all the quotes from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? Is that where you got that from?
Now, can I answer that, or do I have to?
No,
mute
go
you?
ahead, please. I'm curious.
Oh,
Where in this book I ever
Okay,
made
cool.
that-
So now I'm going to answer. The substance and what you were trying to do, because what it is that you're trying to do is that Jesus would want you to be a socialist, which I find problematic considering that you would first have to show any evidence that he actually existed, but that's besides the point. And because you have crowned yourself the savior by, say, the CPI,
How did I do that?
I will explain exactly how you do that. Only the
crowned myself
CPI
the
can
savior.
save us. I'm trying to answer. Could you please mute yourself? Seriously, mute yourself. To answer your question before you interrupted me again, like the hypocrite that you are, because you have posed yourself as only the CPI can save us, and only the CPI's line is correct. Yes, that's why you started the party, and that's why you attack
not a
literally
party.
everybody else.
Nope.
Okay, Center
What's
for
the
Political
CPI?
Innovation and Organization, whatever it is that you
It's
want to call it.
aligned with. We have members of the Communist Party in our group. We have people. From
I got to tell
in
you
our
something.
group. We have
The
people.
Communist
from...
Party doesn't want anything to do
CPI is Maupin's
and
old.
frankly,
Okay.
neither does anybody
Okay,
else.
all right. Okay, we're gonna. This isn't gonna work.
Okay, so now you're
We'll go back
refusing
and
to
forth.
let me answer.
Okay.
So you're
talk
refusing
and
to
I
let me
talk.
answer. Let me answer.
Go ahead and talk.
Because you have positioned yourself as the savior by using this and then saying I'm Christian and Jesus would want you to be a socialist, therefore you got to follow me, because other people really aren't pushing the Christian Marxism. That's what you're doing. You're appealing to people, telling them that, oh, I want God, or pardon me, God would want you to do what I'm doing, and I'm telling you it, so therefore you follow me. This is very similar to how a reverend or a priest acts.
God, that's based STL.
That's what I mean. And I love the obnoxious faces. That was exactly like Vaush did.
Are you done?
It's strange that you're just acting like him. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you're using a very.
Do you think that Unruhe is bringing me up because he knows that Caleb gets triggered by me? That has to be it, right? Because I've never debated Unruhe. I feel like he probably brings it because, you know, Caleb has, like, a thing for me. Oh, that's funny.
Common logical fallacy called telescoping, where you're saying, well, you said this, and this means this, and this means this, and this means this, and this means this, so therefore, and that's not the case.
True.
First things first. CPI is not a party. There are people in many different political organizations that are members of the CPI. We are very friendly with Jackson Hinkle. We are very friendly with Haas. We're very friendly with Peter Coffin. We're very friendly with all kinds of...
We're very friendly with... Goes on to list all the worst humans on Earth. What? Fuck me, that's funny. Holy shit. Very friendly with Adolf Hitler, right?
Of different political forces. I've never claimed that CPI, that I'm the savior, that CPI is the one true way. And in fact, the whole reason we started it as a think tank rather than a party is to get out of that kind of childish LARPing and actually try and have an institution that can push Marxist politics in a way people can understand.
Wait! You wanted to avoid LARPing, so rather than making a party, which has an obligation to actually do something, collect money, and deliver results by running in elections, you created a think tank for which your only obligation is to continue to bloviate on social media? Okay. Like, don't get me wrong, I know there's value in think tanks and everything. Just don't say, yeah, dude, the reason we wanted to avoid making a party is because of all the LARPing. Oh, God. Fuck me, that's funny. Holy shit.
And it. CPI is not a Christian organization. I would say the majority of the group are atheists. We have some Muslim members. We have some Jewish members. And I'm in the minority as someone in the group who's a Christian. And in fact, the very first book we published was a Muslim socialist book by Gaddafi. This pushes Islamic socialism. So the very first book we published was not a Christian book. It was explicitly a Muslim book. So the notion that
Gaddafi, a socialist organization,
Jr. and Eugene Debs and Daniel DeLeon and others out there, in order to make the case that we're trying to establish some kind of Christian theocracy, is simply poppycock. I mean, it just doesn't add up. I mean, do you disagree with that?
Poppycock.
to answer
Unit 01
question,
motorcycle.
It's not telescoping because I'm not making a series of things. I'm taking the collective whole of what's being said.
Well, the collective whole of what's being said is we put out an Islamic socialist book.
Yeah. By the way, publishing somebody else's work doesn't really count as publishing a book.
And I mean, we published Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in here.
That's also someone else's.
Okay. So I'm
lost. But again, yes. when I made the criticism, you were at the time pushing the whole Christian socialist thing.
So what? And there are Muslims in our group who
push the how it's relevant.
Thing. And there are atheists in our group who push the.
And you're not letting me answer.
I mean, and how do you get from that I think I'm the savior? Because I quote the Bible and make the case that if you're a Christian,
can I answer that?
You shouldn't support capitalism.
Okay,
how
so
in the world
you're not going to let me answer that?
How in the world do you get from that I think I'm the savior?
Because the way you've positioned yourself within the organization, not to mention well as the fact, as was adequately demonstrated by Yankee Tanky, the amount of whatever Maupin says is true, whatever Maupin does is right, and there's no room for anyone to disagree with you.
There's plenty.
So you have set yourself up in that way.
Yeah, well, that's just utterly false. And
no,
I don't think
false.
Yes, it is.
I'm sorry, does he have a grudge to pick about something else? Is he lying?
Who?
Yankee Tanky. You remember he was the person who left your organization and came out against you?
First of all, most of what was put out there was personal grievances he had with another member, which I'm not even going to address in this venue, which aren't really relevant. And second of all, a number of his videos have been removed, which is probably an indicator that he no longer wants that out in the public sphere and no longer stands by such comments. So I'm not going to indulge Yankee Tanky.
Or you threatened him.
No, I didn't.
I don't know that you did, but I wouldn't put it past you.
You just said I threatened somebody, and now
I said, or you threatened him.
Or okay.
Well, just give me a second. Bye-bye, game. Goodbye. How far back was the last save? I wonder. Bye-bye. Goodbye. Autosave. They do not have a generous autosave in this game. Goodbye.
Okay. All right. Wow. This is really, really great. So based on the fact that I talk as a Christian socialist and I put out this book after publishing a Muslim book, after publishing a number of other writings in a majority non-Christian organization, you, based on that, claim that I believe to myself to be the savior. Right?
No, you don't believe yourself.
You're accusing me of being David Koresh. You're accusing me of being Reverend Sun Myung Moon and some kind of like insane, I believe you used the term cult, all based on the fact that I put together a book of the writings of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Do you think that other people watching might think that's a little nuts?
No, because the way you've positioned it is that if you disagree with you, you disagree with Jesus.
No,
Yes, that's
no.
literally the whole
Jesus
point of it.
existed in
Oh, I
thousands
didn't
of
lose
years
much.
ago. I'm using this book to make a point that the idea, which is widely believed in among normal people in the United States, that Christianity and Marxism are complete opposites. This is wrong. And that if you're a Christian, you can be a socialist. And in fact, there's many things in the Christian teaching that overlap with socialism. I think it's important that we put books out this. When we published this, there was a member of our organization who's from a Southern family. He bought 25 copies and gave one to every single member of his family. He said, I've been waiting for socialists to publish this kind of material. There are people who got this book and they said, I have been waiting for this for years. For years, I have felt like I can't talk to members of my family about socialism because they have this religious block. They say, oh, socialism's anti-God. Thank you for publishing this. I have gotten so much positive feedback for pointing out that the Christian religion...
Okay, to be fair, Marxism is at least a little bit anti-religion. Not to say you can't be religious and a socialist. You totally can. But like, it doesn't exactly. You don't have to be like a super anti-theist Marxist to point out the fact that historically religious systems have been constructed to make people subservient to capital, by telling them that their hard work will be rewarded in another world. Like that's literally the Protestant work ethic thing. I mean, at the very least, there's some worthwhile criticism in there. No.
And Marxism are compatible. And
Beep, beep.
I don't see this as trying to frame myself as the savior of humanity. Maybe you like got this book confused with another book or something. I mean, did you read this book?
Yeah, I also liked the original version by Charlotte Schnook better.
Who?
Charlotte Schnook, the one who actually collected all the quotes that you used in the 90s.
Who?
The one that you plagiarized your book from.
Who did I plagiarize from?
I've said the name Charlotte Schnook twice.
Okay, and how did I plagiarize from her?
Well, literally, the basis of what you're saying, how it's Christianity is compatible there, it was from her atheist writings in the 90s.
I believe it's from a lot of other people said it before she did. That's a very widely common thing to say, right? If you go back, there's a long history of Christian socialist movements. In fact,
and yet the organization is so very, very close. Regardless.
I think, we quoted from the same Bible, if that's what you mean. Yeah, I did compile these quotes from the Christian Bible. So, I mean, she probably used the same quotes as I did. But, Keaton's in the chat. He compiled the quotes. He helped me compile them. I had other people go through them. I'd be curious to look at Charlotte's book and see if she used similar quotes. But I didn't plagiarize from Charlotte. Did she have Martin Luther King Jr. in her book?
Yes.
Oh, she did? Can you have
Why does he keep asking questions? He already... Okay.
Just Google Charlotte Schnook, Schnook. Jesus was a socialist.
Okay, well... all right, so let's pull it up here. I'm going to. How do you?
Okay, I have no input on this, but I feel like Caleb is guilty of plagiarism here, just based off his incredibly suspicious response. Schnook? Who Schnook? What Schnook? What? Who? What? No, I would never. What? Who? For this MLK quotes? The quotes of MLK? No. Like he's asked 18 clarifying questions that Unruhe already directly answered. Yeah, I don't know. Oops! Oh, we'll see. I mean, the idea that Caleb Maupin would plagiarize isn't exactly surprising, because I've read his BreadTube book, BreadTube Serves Imperialism, and we can see what it looks like when he doesn't plagiarize. Maybe it was for the best that he plagiarized, if he did. Maybe maybe that was the best outcome.
You said SHN.
What's a book? Who are you? Yeah.
CHNOOK.
Yeah.
Jesus was a socialist.
I know.
How do you spell?
Personally.
Okay, so she had the same title. I see an angel fire came up. Jesus on economics, Luke 12. Do we have Luke 12 in here? No, I'm just looking. You're saying that basically because I used the same quotes from the Bible that she did, that somehow this is plagiarism.
Seems very much like it to me.
Okay, well,
I keep claiming it's your work, but there's nothing original in there.
And Jesus on war, we didn't use that quote. I'm seeing Jesus on public prayer. We made a decision not to go there. I see Jesus on punishment. We didn't go there. And I'm also not seeing a book. I'm seeing angelfire.com, Cello, Fantails, Jesus, the Socialist HTML. I'm not seeing a book.
What?
Yeah, it's from the 90s. It was a very small. Yeah,
but it would be used. It would be used. I don't see it on Amazon. I see
because it was published in the 90s in a very small atheist book.
Was Jesus a socialist?
So you can't find my books on Amazon either. It doesn't mean they don't exist.
Well, yeah, but I'm not understanding. So you're alleging that because we used the same verses from the same Bible, that somehow we did that. And I just read you that at least on the Angel Fire, she's using completely different verses and making completely different.
He's stalling with his right now. He's stalling. He's typing up an email to the Kremlin, going like, "Can you get this removed from the? Can you please use your? Can you please use your Russian internet hackers to get rid of this, please?" So I have no idea. There's no way for me to weigh in on whether or not it's plagiarized. There's just no way.
Points.
She's making
And
most
I'll
of the
drop
same
link
points.
in
She
the
just
chat.
has
You can
points
look
that you're not
look
making.
at Schnook's work here, and you'll see that she talks about punishment. We didn't decide to go there. She talks about public prayer. We didn't go there.
You do talk about the
I'm
same
gonna
ones. She
drop
talks
it in
about
the
ones
chat.
that you
This is what
didn't.
you're alleging that I'm plagiaring from. I'm posting the link. This is all I found from Miss Schnook, and it's in there, and people can look at it for themselves and judge whether or not this is plagiarized. So there's the link. People can look. People can take a look. You know, folks, click on that link. Jason is claiming I copied that link, and you've got this book right here, and people can decide for themselves whether or not I'm using it. Now, I don't see any quotes from Martin Luther King Jr. on this page of Charlotte Schnook. You're claiming there's a book that was published that also contains quotes from MLK?
Is my understanding, yes.
Okay, so
Well, I haven't read the book. The book can't really be found.
But you haven't read the book.
Well, no, because it was a very small.
So how do you know I plagiarized from it?
Because it's basically ripped from the website too.
No. There's many places. If you type Christianity and socialism, you can find these quotes many, many different places. The Bible's been around for a long time. So
And many of those are directly plagiarized from her work as well.
What, the Bible is plagiarizing her work?
No, dum-dum. You know that's not what I said.
I know. I
said those other people that have used them.
I think anybody who would look through the Bible and try to make a case that there can be overlap between Christianity and socialism is probably
of course there is
the same quotes. And I'd be curious now. If she quoted Martin Luther King Jr., you might have a case to make. But you said you haven't even seen this book
because the book is out of print.
Yeah, but you haven't even seen it. So you're claiming I plagiarized from a book that you haven't even seen?
No, I said from the website. I specifically just said that.
So you're claiming I plagiarized from this website, which I will post in the chat again, which makes points that we don't make, which, yeah.
Of course not, because you didn't cover everything that she did.
Yeah, and we're making different points than she's making. And we're, yes, quoting the same
No, you're
Bible,
making many of the same points. She's just made some that you didn't.
Yes, because we're quoting the same Bible, Jason, and we're trying to make the same
I know. I went to Catholic school.
This is fucking amazing.
You said there were quotes from Martin Luther King in it, and now you've admitted you don't even know about that. So you just lied on it.
I know because I talked to her. She said she put it in the book.
Okay.
I know.
I'd like to see this book. I'd like to see this book. You know, I mean, did she have an essay by Keaton Mansfield in there? Did she have the Eugene Debs essay that we included?
No.
Okay, because I'm not.
Okay,
I'm not
I don't see why his essay has anything to do with
we did
it.
at the first draft of the book. We included the full Beyond Vietnam speech by Dr. Martin Luther King, but we discovered that we couldn't republish that because it's copyrighted. So we had to chop it up into quotations.
Maybe Rivera.
We did that. We used some different quotes from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But I really we've gone from I think I'm the savior because I published this book to
no, you're
oversimplifying
oversimplifying
this
it.
book. I mean, I've called what have I been called so far in this debate? Piece of shit, dumb. Where's the anger coming from, Jason? Can you tell that?
Can I just say, by the way, that even though it comes off as juvenile, probably because it comes off juvenile, I actually find saying dum-dum as a real insult really endearing. It's like, is it not cute? Like, Unruhe's like this 40-year-old guy. He's got a huge Santa beard or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of endearing, you know?
As I have already answered that question, you know that I wasn't referring specifically. Like when I said people, when I said other people, because you're a liar.
How am I a liar?
Because you're a narcissist and
I'm
a goddamn
narcissist.
fascist.
How am I a fascist?
You mean aside from being the ally of Alexander Dugin, aside from
Oh, shit.
I'm not his ally. So I'm neither.
yeah, Alexander Dugin is a fascist.
No, he's not.
Nuh-uh.
The guy who
You ever read
literally,
the
guy who, yeah, I did
Okay,
read it, by the way.
I'm going to mute
Okay,
you now
so
because
I can't answer once
This is
again.
an important point. The fourth political theory that Dugin invented is inherently anti-fascist. It is contrary to both fascism and communism. Dugin was a founding member of the Russian Communist Party. He left with a split, and there was the National Bolshevik Party, which was led by Edward Limonov, who was openly gay and wrote novels, was a punk rock novelist, was considered very liberal in Russia. And then Dugin left it, and he has something called the Eurasian Movement. Now, Dugin opposes both fascism and communism. He considers them to be Western ideas. And I don't agree with Dugin. He rejects historical progress. I don't. He rejects communism. I'm in favor of communism. He is against gay marriage. I'm for gay marriage. He's against abortion. I'm for abortion being legal. Dugin and I agree on Western capitalism and imperialism being a danger, and that's why I was happy to sit down with him, and I'd be happy to sit down with any anti-imperialist, because that is my job, as we talked at the beginning of the debate. My job as a person living in Western imperialist countries is to build an alliance against imperialism, and so I sat down with him, but I don't agree with him, and he's a postmodernist. I believe that there is objective reality and one truth. He says that in Russia there is a different truth for Russia, and he has views that are very, very contrary to mine. So I'm not Dugin, and Dugin isn't a fascist. So both of those points are way off, but go ahead.
Okay, well, you muted me while I was explaining how he is a fascist. You've completely misrepresented his book. Actually, right out in the book,
I'll go get his book.
Right into, he says, he literally calls for pushing fascism using using fascist and socialist symbols. Dugin was also part of an anti-Semitic nationalist group, the Pamyat, in the Soviet Union. Pamyat used the same version of the Russian flag that you do in support of Russia in your meetings. Oh, I see that when I get the answer, you walk away so you don't hear it.
I'm trying to get my copy of Dugin's book. I was going to read to you from it. I don't know where it is. But first of all, what version of the Russian flag are you referring to?
Well, I have a picture of it here. It's the one that's the black, blue, red, of the eagle in the middle, and the writing.
Yeah, that's the flag of the Donetsk People's Republic.
Really, because here is a picture of a guy. They were waving the exact same one way back.
Yes, that's the flag of the Donetsk People's Republic. That's the flag that they chose.
Oh,
Yeah,
wonder
so just
why.
waving a flag used by a fascist party.
No, used by the communists and progressive Russian-speaking people of the eastern regions who declared independence. That's actually what their flag looks like.
You do realize that he's literally saying in the fourth political theory, he's pushing for fascism, and saying to use fascist and socialist symbols.
He spends pages denouncing fascism. He talks about how fascism, because it's inherently racist and because it's tied in with the Holocaust, etc., has been discredited. That's basically what
Yeah. So basically, Alexander Dugin's position on fascism is that it would be much better. So Dugin is a hyper-authoritarian. He denounces fascism because he thinks that racism weakens national unity. He wants like a pan-Russian, like Eurasian movement, which unites people to like a common tribe to like defend against Western imperialism. But he thinks that racism is like is an impeding mechanism to prevent that. So he's not fascist in the sense that he genuinely seems to believe that racism is an antagonizing force, like in that context. But on the other hand, he's still like a reactionary hyper-authoritarian that believes in the, a pan-eugenicist revival of a new nation state, like that kind of thing. Like, he ticks off a ton of elements of fascism. He basically just wants like ethnically diverse fascism so that it'll make the fascism stronger, That's like the big kick with him. I mean, I guess that's a little bit of an improvement, I mean, if you want to split hairs here.
he says. I mean, I've read the passages on this.
And yet the substance of what he's saying
and
is
I'm
different.
not him. So it's like, again, you're doing this.
No, I didn't say you were him.
Talk to Dugin. Dugin said this. So therefore, and it's like,
no,
it's like,
can I answer
not
that?
what
No.
you say he is.
Can I answer
talked
that?
to him one time. I don't agree with him. So your logic doesn't add up.
No, can I answer that?
No.
It's not because you talked to him one time.
Palingenic, not
It's because we're palling
palingenesis.
around
Sorry,
with him.
palingenetic.
And let me answer. And because he was so nodding along with you when you were talking about.
Wait, no, Vaush, how's that different from what the Nazis did, making it being Aryan? Because the Nazis, the Aryan was a predefined ethnic boundary that they wanted to build their fight around, whereas Dugin's advocacy seems to be more about tossing away ethnic and national divisions in favor of a pan-Eurasian ultra-state. So I don't think that's Nazi in the sense that, the Nazis did what they did for the ethnicity, for the race, for the blood, whereas Dugin advocates for tossing away the blood and uniting instead based on, the unifying pan-Eurasian, that kind of thing. Not Nazi, still fascist. Isn't it the same conclusion, though? Well, it's still pretty fucking bad. Yeah, but... Keep in mind, did you note Caleb Maupin's language earlier? Dugin describes, what did he say the Holocaust was? Counterproductive? Wasn't that the term that he used? That's the language of somebody whose argument against the Holocaust isn't a strictly moral one. It's one based on the fact that, and this is a fact, that the Holocaust was, at the end of the day, a pretty ineffective way of achieving, German supremacy, That's the thing at the end of the day. It's counterproductive to be racist. Which means that under Duginist ideology, the moment something atrocious becomes productive towards the unification of a pan-Eurasian state, it becomes morally acceptable. Which is why you should never trust fascists when they're like, oh, I wouldn't be racist. Racism is unproductive. Oh, what happens when you suddenly start to think it becomes productive then? Literally non-compete. I'm not compete. Yeah.
The bankers who were influencing things. As a Marxist, you would know that it's not a conspiracy by the bankers to ruin America.
No,
it's just capitalism. It's doing what is profitable. It's not something that's specifically targeted as trying to destroy America, which, by the way, you did specifically say in that thing. And that he was nodding along with you.
Okay, now, if you read Lenin's book, Imperialism, the Highest Stage of Capitalism, Lenin makes clear that one of the defining aspects of imperialism is the dominance of finance capital. And Russia, as a country,
not an answer to his point.
After the fall of the Soviet Union and economically plundered, they have rebuilt themselves up, and they are fighting against the same big banks and corporations that are destroying the lives of American workers, and that we have a common destiny. And that, yes, there are big banks and big corporations tied in with big oil companies that have a financial interest in trying to crush Russia. That is basic Marxism. That is what Lenin wrote about in Imperialism, the Highest Stage of Capitalism.
Nope. He totally dodged that. So Unruh is actually completely correct on this. Unruh argues that from a Marxist perspective, bankers and oil barons and so on, they're not trying to destroy the countries they live in. Their existence and the stuff they advocate for and do is just a natural product of capitalism, something that happens in all capitalist countries. It's not a conspiracy, but as Caleb Maupin is much more Nas than he is Bull, Caleb Maupin and Dugin both use rhetoric that insists as though the behavior of capitalism in the West and in Russia is conspiratorial, being orchestrated by an elite group of bankers, blah-de-blah, Nazi JQ, blah, you know. And Unruh, who is not a Nazi, even though he's a lunatic, is pointing out that framing it as conspiratorial is far-right rhetoric, because the far-right doesn't have an issue with bankers dominating the government. They just care about Jewish bankers dominating the government. Like, fascists don't give a fuck about capital controlling the people. They just want the people in charge to be of the right blood, you know? And they make it conspiratorial because otherwise they would subject themselves to criticisms that could implicate future allegiance with the capitalists, which is what fascists always do. And by the way, Dugin has no problem allying himself with capitalists. None whatsoever.
Capitalism, this is a pretty honest understanding of things. So the fact that I talked about how imperialism, which is defined by Lenin as the rule of the world by trusts, cartels, and syndicates, the dominance of finance capital, and I talked about struggling against it and made a speech critical of the Western left for failing to do so. And you interpret that as somehow me wanting to kill all Jews or something? That's ridiculous.
Well, you muted me.
Dude, he's picture perfect. This is what they always do. Caleb Maupin does JQ rhetoric, and he's like, oh, well, all I did was, say that bankers are bad, and you think I want to kill all Jews or whatever? What is it you said? Like, he can't engage with it directly because obviously, and I think Caleb Maupin is fully aware of the fact that his rhetoric is, if not bordering on Jewish question rhetoric, is like pretty clearly like in that ballpark, you know? I think he's fully aware of that. Maupin also repeatedly talks about London as the capital of the bankers, which is a Larishite conspiracy. It's always a conspiracy with him. You don't need a conspiracy as a Marxist to condemn bankers. Why would you need a conspiracy? Marxism is fundamentally against the accumulation of capital in the hands of a different class. You don't need conspiracy for that. It's laid out there plenty. But for Caleb Maupin, it has to be some kind of sinister conspiracy, which makes you wonder, That's what it makes you wonder.
Right in the middle of it, I was trying to explain it, and I had already explained the difference between the two. I never said bankers weren't ruining the country. You keep going back to that, which is something I haven't denied.
No, you just attacked me for saying that.
No, I attacked you for the way that you phrased it. You dog-whistled anti-Semitism by saying it.
Dude, Unruh!
You knowingly... It's hard to claim that you're not being a fascist when you keep allying yourself with right-wing movements and ideas.
Oh,
the
shit!
Freedom Convoy. And can I answer, or can I mute you?
Okay. You're saying things that are untrue, but continue.
No, you did. You openly supported the Freedom Convoy in Canada, which was a fascist movement. I literally played the video of the guy who leads the thing talking about great replacement, talking about how there was a conspiracy by people and to get rid of
Wall Street, the Maoist movement?
No.
Well, the RCP went there, so it must be.
The RCP didn't lead it.
One guy showed up with Nazi flags one
day.
day.
No, the leaders.
The leader of it.
So
the leader of it was an anti-Semite.
What was the issue at hand in the Freedom Convoy? Fascism? Were they marching for fascism in Canada?
Essentially, yes, they were calling for Okay, I'm going to answer, because you exactly weren't actually there for it, and that's why the majority of Canadians didn't support it.
Sikhs led
because yeah, I know they had a few Sikhs in there too. That wasn't the point.
Okay, they don't count, right? They're fascist.
That wasn't the point. That wasn't the point. The guy who ran it,
Okay, notice how desperately Caleb Maupin is trying to obfuscate the point here, talking over him like, oh, well, yeah, there's one guy who was a fascist. No, he led the movement. Oh, okay, so there was at least one non-fascist there, so I guess then that person is also fascist. Yeah, it's very obviously... the Freedom Convoy was unambiguously fascist. Its leaders were openly fascist. Many of them were open ethno-nationalists. All of the media, all the press, all the rhetoric around it was far right. There's no ambiguity there. Occupy Wall Street was very decentralized and very ambiguous in its messaging. You could get different answers no matter who you talk to. But Occupy Wall Street is incomparable here because Occupy Wall Street was decentralized. Occupy Wall Street was just a bunch of people united by their fucking hatred of Wall Street, which, based. But the Freedom Convoy had leaders and press talks and had people on Fox News. I mean, there were direct hierarchies in the presentation there, yeah. to its detriment, mind you. Well, I'm in favor of organized and centralized movements. Don't get me wrong, but
Who led it? The guy who was the chief financial operative for it, he was the guy that you sent the donations to, was saying, yes, this is about great replacement, using the term Anglo-Saxon race, because it's a way of getting around the censors. If you say white,
I
then
really
you get
doubt
censored. Again, I am
Marxism
trying
and
to answer,
Anglo-Saxon
and you're interrupting me. Supporting that, full well knowing that they were asking for the liberal prime minister to step down, holding the country hostage in order to do so, in order to take their hand-picked person from their far-right group to take up the position of prime minister. That's not even just a process. It's almost an attempted coup, and it was entirely right-wing. Their arguments were entirely right-wing. Most of the companies, the truckers that were involved in doing the whole thing, were actually business owners. They weren't. The vast majority of them weren't even regular working people, because one got to wonder how they were able to do that instead of working. So no. You literally misrepresented the entire thing by your statement just there, and you openly supported a guy who was supporting fascism and calling for great replacement theory. Yes.
This guy.
You supported his movement.
Oh, telescoping again.
That's not telescoping. You literally supported his
telescope. Dude, you're being like so abstract. Like, yeah, I didn't support the guy. I just supported his movement, which was led by the guy and also full of people like the guy and represented the beliefs of the guy. Dude, this is guilt by association. I'm not literally Hitler. I just like him. Why are you associating me with it? Like, holy shit. Dude, Unruhe is kicking ass here. Okay, I actually revised what I said. Unruhe may be a fucking lunatic, but I cannot in good faith call him a fascist. I think that his criticisms here demonstrate a pretty, like, consistent ideological opposition to fascism. I think I have no idea what it means to be anti-fascist but also be pro-North Korea, which he is. I do not know. I assume it has something to do with hating America, which is the main political belief of third worldists. But, you know, whatever. Whatever, dude. We're here for it. Okay.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Are you done? May I respond? All right. So you're claiming that because I supported a movement of truckers, of which one leader you claim, I mean, I haven't seen the evidence, you claim that he's saying, you know, he's saying all these things about the Anglo-Saxon race, because I supported a movement that had a guy in it, therefore...
just a guy!
I sat next to a guy who's clearly not a fascist, and I must be a fascist, even though I disagree with that guy who is himself not even a fascist, to I support a movement of people around vaccine mandates and other issues, that there was somebody in it that you claim he said something, which people play this game where everything's a dog whistle and all of that. I really doubt those Sikh truckers there were marching for the Anglo-Saxon race, Jason. And you can disagree with me about the trucker convoy. But to claim that I am somehow a fascist because I see a group of people in motion protesting against the state, against Justin Trudeau, and I sympathize with them.
That's interesting. That's all it takes for you to support a movement, is for them to be against a liberal leader of a state? Wouldn't that include all far-right movements? Like, that's the qualifying criteria here? Don't get me wrong, I don't have a problem with protesting against liberals who are heads of state, but that includes a lot. Well, he is pro-1/6, isn't he? Hasn't Caleb Maupin basically defended January 6th? I don't know if he's flat out said that it's good. I think he just keeps doing the whole, like, well, this isn't even a big deal, and actually they've demonstrated more revolutionary potential than most people, and actually it's the liberals lied about it, and actually AOC is crazy. Like that kind of thing, right? You know? No, he flat out defended it? Oh, okay. Maupin, Azovite win. I mean, Maupin unironically has more in common with the Azov battalion than he does with, probably, like, the average Russian citizen. Like, the average Russian citizen is probably, like, a nationalist and, like, hardlined on Russian propaganda, and the Azov battalions are Nazis. And I think Caleb Maupin might be a Nazi. I mean, I know he's a fascist. He might be a Nazi. I don't know how much of the Soros dog whistling shit is, like, deliberate, and how much of it is him being, like, just like, following orders, you know? But hey, lots of people follow orders, don't they? Hey, woo, wah-hey, yeah, woo.
Even though I'm in another country, that somehow makes me a fascist. That is completely dishonest. Go ahead.
Your review of what I just said completely misrepresented what I said. It's just one guy. No, it's the leader of the entire thing. He did say those things. The videos of him talking are not only available, they're available on my channel as well. I uploaded them as an example of that. That was a fascist movement. It also was pushing, and it was also Patrick King. That's his name.
Okay, I've never heard of him before.
You've never heard of the guy who ran the protest?
Because I saw a group.
Well, then you clearly don't know what you're talking about.
I saw a group of people in motion around this issue of vaccines, and
Dude, is this what happens every time Maupin is under pressure? He instantly doesn't know anything about anything. King? No, never heard of him. What? Who? What? Leader movement? Canadian trucker? What trucker convoy? What? I don't know. What book? What book? Plagiarized? Jesus quotes. No. What? What is a book? Paper? Pages? What is a page? Is this his like default response to every time he gets questioned on anything? Jesus Christ! Oh my God, he's so funny, dude. I'm so happy we're watching this right now. Holy shit! What is this? Instead of bringing working people together around a class struggle program, you diverted leftists into silly conspiracy theories, decoding secret hand sides. Working people are angry, ready to fight other forces. Okay, yeah, he's actually just defending January 6th here. Yep, literally what I said. Remember what I said? Well, the revolutionary potential is greater. Yep. And then I said he'd talk about AOC? Wait, is he going to talk about AOC? Wait, how many times did he quote tweet her? What the fuck? I didn't talk about AOC. Okay. So yeah, he's talking about January 6th like it's a workers' revolt for anti-capitalism or something. Outside of your rich suburban neighborhood near DC, a lot of working people, black, white, Asian, Arab, Latino, are suffering. These are the people at Jan 6. Working class people of a diverse racial background. He's accusing her of engaging in cancel culture for saying that it sucks that an insurrectionist brought the Confederate flag into the Capitol building. Oh my God. Yeah, no. A pro-slavery flag, yeah.
Felt that as a communist, it is our duty when we see people in motion. Have you ever read the Communist Manifesto?
No. It wasn't the people in motion. It was a nonsense claim that vaccines were some kind of conspiracy and that people were trying to.
Was saying was that vaccines are a conspiracy. I thought it was about.
No, they were pushing conspiracy. I am trying to answer you. They were saying more than one thing. He was saying more than one thing. It was about the vaccines, and they go, "Oh, they're trying to kill us with it," and then going on about
everyone there was saying the vaccines were trying to kill them.
I am trying.
So every human being that's ever associated believes every single thing you've just said represents the movement.
What I say, and then say, "Well, what did I do wrong?" You are completely misrepresenting the fact that he is the leader. It wasn't just because you supported it. It's because
I fucking love how bad he is at his job. Yeah, that's the thing that I find funniest about. You know how in cartoon shows there's like the stock character of like the evil minion who's really ambitious but is really bad at their job? You know what I mean? Like it's like a stock character where they're like really like go-getter but they kind of suck at being evil. That's Caleb Maupin like to a T. And every time he fucks up, I can just imagine the people at the higher offices of Russia today, like fucking face-palming at him. You know what I mean? Like, this is the best they can do? Wait, is Maupin actually Russian state media? No, he literally worked for RT before he got fired by them.
This guy was in it. He's the leader of it. So his opinion of the movement and his running of the movement is kind of actually really important.
So you're telling me this
the rest of Canada recognized that it was a far right-wing movement. It was getting money from the Conservative Party of Canada. That was published.
About it. But the issue at hand...
Why are you supporting a far-right movement just because the masses want to do it, which it wasn't even the masses?
The issue at hand was the vaccine mandates, was it not?
That was part of it.
Part of it, oh,
But if it was for the vaccine mandate, and it was solely for the vaccine mandate, then why were they asking for the Prime Minister to step down?
Because Justin Trudeau presided over that and has been presiding over Canada not doing well and working families suffering, and the right wing has hijacked the anger that a lot of working people in Canada feel, just like they're doing here in the United States.
And again, this movement really wasn't regular people. It was largely business owners. It was funded by right-wing extremist groups. By the way, the Globe and Mail, famous Canadian... No, of course you don't know about that. You don't seem to know anything.
All right, well...
Okay, you don't know all the things that were put out in the Canadian media upon investigating.
Now, and I'm going to mute you. All right, in the Communist Manifesto, this is what it says. In short, communists everywhere support every revolutionary movement against the existing social and political order of things. In all of these movements, they bring to the front as the leading question in each the property question, no matter what.
Literally, like, let me mute you in the middle of this argument so I can bloviate and grandstand by reading out some semi-relevant quote.
Its degree of development at the time, meaning that when working people are in confrontation with the state and when they're out there rallying against the ruling class, that you support them. but you bring forward communism. You challenge the backward ideas they may be espousing as they do it, but you support them when they're in a confrontation with the status quo.
Damn, I guess that's why Lenin supported the Black Knives fascist group that sought to overthrow Tsarist rule in Russia and establish like a fascist state, and why Mao supported the Black Hundreds. I keep calling them the Black Knives, 100 Knives or whatever. Yeah, the idea that this is meant to be an endorsement of every single revolutionary movement possible is absolutely psychotic. Like, yes, the Communist Manifesto wants you to support all revolutionary movements against the current state of things. Nazi Germany, Mussolini's Italy, anything at all. You know, just whatever. I mean, Caleb probably does believe that. You know. Oh, wait. I can think of at least one revolutionary movement that Caleb Maupin doesn't support. Rojava. Hasn't he shit-talked them? It's actually like an anarcho-syndicalist, like, startup society, and it's like, oh, well, America fought ISIS next to them, so actually they're just like an America state, or whatever, yeah. The only time Caleb Maupin is willing to support a Western movement is if it's a fascist one. Literally, like, look at what he supports and what he doesn't. That's it. The only time he will ever vocally support anything happening in the West is when it's far right. That's it. Even if he does this begrudging, you know, I don't fully agree with them, but I do believe this thing, that's the criteria that determines it.
That is my understanding. And we made the mistake. We should have done this with the Tea Party. And we should have done this with Occupy Wall Street. And we should have done this with Black Lives Matter. If our job is to exist in the Western capitalist countries, to get working people to understand they have a duty to align with the people of the colonized world that are fighting for their independence, it should be our job to see working people who are in motion and try to get them to understand that they have a common enemy with the people around the world that are struggling against imperialism. So, not a Canadian, never went to a single one of these protests, but I saw a group of people rallying against Justin Trudeau, who's backed by the big corporations and banks and is the face of Canadian imperialism at this time. And I thought, okay, the issue is the vaccine mandate, something that even though I'm vaccinated, I'm opposed to. I think that supporting their right to be in the streets and opposing the government taking their money and shutting them down in a rather undemocratic and harsh way, I think that might be the right thing to do. And no, I don't agree with this Patrick, what's his name, who's the leader of it. And I don't agree with the one guy who showed up with the Nazi flag. But when people are in motion, it is our duty to go and support them and bring them away from their backward ideas towards socialism. They should be rallying for socialism against Justin Trudeau, not for this right-wing stuff.
Please play the best Unruhe clip on stream. Hold on. And stop linking me clips.
Me back to a threatening comment that was left on my channel about 2 weeks ago. This person claimed to be a Navy SEAL. They had made a very fanciful claim of having graduated at the top of their class of the Navy SEALs, having over 300 confirmed kills, having conducted numerous secret raids on Al-Qaeda, and even went so far as to claim he was the top sniper in the entire military. I mean, this is a rather fanciful claim. But given that we now know that there are such people on the internet working on behalf of the government to deliberately twist and manipulate the public debate in towards the narrative of the ruling class, which is that we must have these wars for whatever superfluous reason it is that they invent, when really it's about economics. And it makes me begin to wonder if in fact this person was actually real. Now this actually brings me...
I will never know whether or not this is serious. Jason Unruhe is the only person on Earth who I could watch this delivered from and genuinely not know if it's satire. I don't know. I don't know. Either way, it's incredible. Okay? I want to believe. I want to believe.
Would you agree with that?
That quote isn't the problem. I'm not disputing what is said there. I'm disputing in what the truckers were. They were not a revolutionary movement. They were a bunch of conspiracy theory nutbags who were overwhelmingly supportive of QAnon, who already believe that Canada is a socialist country and that Justin Trudeau is a communist because allegedly son of Fidel Castro. That quote I'm not disputing. What I'm disputing is the substance of what the truckers were and what they were doing.
So you don't feel you have any responsibility to change what they think? You don't think that when there's a group of people that are in a conversation with imperialist government who have backward ideas, you might have a responsibility to go to them and get them to
he supported them. What is that? What?
If you think that's what you're doing, you're insane.
Well, I wasn't doing anything. I was here in the United States.
Well, he supported them.
Reactionary movement. Okay, so you can support a completely reactionary movement, one that was looking to essentially pull off a fascist coup if they could.
I think the issue was vaccine mandates.
No, they were also asking for the prime minister to step down and be replaced with one of their own handpicked.
You know, and I saw a communist literature table at Occupy Wall Street, so it was clearly trying to establish dictatorship of the proletariat. You know, it really blows my mind. Fox News has been doing this kind of crap to left-wing movements for years, and suddenly they turn around and do it to right-wing movements, and you're fine with that. One Nazi flag, one guy on social media said something that you say is the great replacement, so therefore all these truckers are Nazis, all of them are fascists. No, it's not about the vaccine mandate. It's actually a fascist plot to seize the government. Oh, now we have to back Justin Trudeau, and if we don't, you're a Nazi. This is how nuts mainstream leftism has become.
Well, you just lied by saying I was trying to defend.
Yeah, well, like completely incoherent. The only thing that Unruhe is saying here is you shouldn't support a reactionary anti-communist movement that's super far right. And Caleb Maupin, because of course he is far right, has to go like, you know, oh well, I guess we should always just defend liberals all the time. Like he can never engage. He can't engage, of course. I lay awake at night wondering how much of Caleb Maupin is genuine like retardation and how much of it is him being like a deliberate liar, you know? I can't know. I don't know. Because, you know, they say you should never attribute to malice what can be as easily explained by stupidity, but we know that there are malicious political actors out there. In fact, that's probably the norm. So, I don't know. I'll never know, you know?
Justin Trudeau, which is not true. Also, it's not just one guy, as I have said repeatedly, a point that you keep refusing to acknowledge. It was the leader of the movement, and you can't claim the leader of a movement's opinion isn't significant. And second of all, there were a multitude of issues there. They are fascist. They did. It was on their website. They were asking Trudeau to step down and be replaced by their own hand-picked person who was a far rightist. You cannot claim that was not a reactionary movement or, oh, it's just one guy. Literally, the demands of the group were to have a far rightist put into power undemocratically.
And it didn't occur to you that you might be able to change that by seeing a bunch of working people are in motion, have these backward ideas, and showing them that you oppose the status quo too, but the answer is actually socialism, not their reactionary bullshit?
To answer your question before you cut me off again, you really like to do that, mute me when I'm trying to answer you.
Yep.
Fucking coward. You're the one muting.
Where does this rage come from? Seriously, Jason.
You deliberately misrepresenting what I'm saying.
No,
you repeatedly lying. Yes, you are lying.
I don't have the anger that you have.
Yes, I didn't say anything about that. I didn't say anything about you being angry.
Now, November 26th, 2021, you claim that people who want to kill... Oh, he rage quit. Well, he rage quit, folks.
No, Unruhe.
That was fun. We had him for
You
almost
were
an hour.
right about almost everything.
That was fun. That was fun. Well, listen, folks. Glad to have you here. And since
he'll be back. Wait, is he going to come back? He comes back.
We will go ahead and read off some of the things that Jason has said about me. On November 26th, 2021, Jason claimed that I have people. I'm willing to work with people who quote kill homosexuals. He never presented any evidence that I advocate killing.
The Russian... What? The Russian government is full of people who I'm pretty sure are that far right when it comes to gay issues. I don't think it's that uncommon of a... the Kadyrovites ran gay concentration camps. Yeah, well, he'd probably deny their existence or whatever. The Russian government has concentration camps in Chechnya. Yeah. Like, yeah. The Chechens, at least who work for the Russians, are like the ultra gay bashing dudes or whatever. Yeah. Wacky stuff. Wacky.
Homosexuals. Furthermore, he claimed on November 27th, the following day, November 27th, 2021, that me and Haas were basically, he said we were trying to, quote, frame me for CP, that we are trying to frame him for child pornography. He never presented a shred of evidence to back that up either. This guy has a record of deception, and I will give him credit. Oh, you back? You want to come back on, Jason? Oh,
Return to the king.
On? You still want to defend
my internet cut out.
Okay, I thought it was a rage quit.
Okay, by the way, I actually did present evidence that Haas was trying to set me up for that.
But I
put it right on my Twitter. And what do you know? Exactly the screenshot of the people in his Discord server talking about it.
I'm not in his Discord server.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking
about
what's
Jason.
I'm talking about what's... Whoa,
your tweet talked about me. You accused me of trying to frame you for child pornography when I did no such thing. Yes, you talked about me. We have the date. We have the screenshot. You talked about me. Here, we'll even put it on the screen. You made a crazy allegation against me without any evidence. Yes, you talked about me.
Jesus Christ, you just cut me off every time your back is against the wall. As I was trying to say, please calm down. Where's all this anger coming from?
Yes.
Can I answer
I'm
now?
a bit annoyed
Is that
you
okay?
accused me of something
I
like
tried to show you the evidence, but
Okay.
you wouldn't let me talk.
that. Okay, keep talking while I pull up the screenshot.
As I said, with the screenshot that was sent to me by someone from in his Discord, where they were talking about the plan, not child pornography. The plan was to make it look like I was trying to do sexual talking with an underage person.
Oh,
Which, by the
no.
way, those fake conversations, a few days later, a week later, actually were put out by Hawes's people.
Okay.
And if I am to believe that this, there's what do you mean no? What do you mean no evidence? You're literally showing the evidence.
Never mind, it gets worse. Haas/Maupin, I am Maupin, that is me, are going to try and frame me for CP, which is child pornography. And you have moved the goalpost about 6 times.
No, I haven't. You're
Yes,
lying.
Wait, when did he move the
first,
goalpost?
This is what you said publicly on Twitter. Never mind, it gets worse. Haas/Maupin are going to try and frame me for child pornography. Now, first you said, well, this was Haas who was doing it. And now you said it's somebody in Haas's server who did such a thing. This has absolutely nothing to do with me. You publicly accused me of a really nasty, evil thing that I would not do to somebody who I don't like. And I had nothing to do with
He did it
what
to
went on
me.
Haas's server. You're not even alleging that Haas did this even. Now you're
They
alleging that
both
somebody
done
on
it to
Haas's
me.
server did something. And you threw my name into that? I mean, are you ready to apologize for that?
Are you ready to show the actual evidence that I put on Twitter and not just this?
Your screenshot. It had nothing to do with me, according to you.
There's more screenshots.
Then how does...
You're not showing the one that I put on Twitter. Well, this is one of them, but this is not the one I was talking about.
You have evidence that I myself...
This, let me answer you. That same, this on, I fucking saw that. You just tried to mute me again.
Slip of the hand. Go ahead.
Slip of the hand?
That whole block of individuals, it was literally a screenshot of the conversation that was going on in his Discord. If I am to believe that you don't know what's going on with him when you're so closely linked, I call you a liar. Both of you were trying to discredit me, and these fake conversations were released, and nobody bought it.
Okay.
It was laughed at, and it was done specifically through Haas's attack squad, RSTG or RTSG or whatever it is, because I screenshotted all of the accounts screenshotted all of the accounts that were spreading it. All of them made 1 month before the accusation came out. All of them associated with Haas's group.
Okay, so people in Haas's Discord server did something, and you not only blame Haas for that, but you also blame me personally for this. All you have are some screenshots of some anonymous people. I don't even look at my personal Discord server.
He misspoke.
I hate the Discord app.
It's all over.
Annoying. I stay off of there, and there's a bunch of shady people on there on Discord who you have no idea who they are, and that's why I stay off of it. And there's a bunch of shady people. I get all kinds of weird inbox messages. Oh, did you see what Jason said? Oh, did you see what Vaush just said? I try to stay away from this stuff. But based on the fact that you have screenshots of somebody in someone's Discord server, again, telescoping, Jason. Someone in a Discord server said this, so therefore Haas did this, and Haas is friends with Caleb, so therefore Caleb did this. Do you have a shred of honesty in your... I mean, you accuse me of something very, very, very serious here, and there you go.
Dude,
I mean,
he grandstands so
somebody in Haas's
hard.
Discord did something. I'm personally involved. I mean, that is ridiculous.
Like 90% of any sentence uttered by Caleb Maupin is him grandstanding. He never just says a statement. It has to be repeated 3 times over, and it has to be the most self-victimizing shit. Why did he just bring you up? They bring me up a couple of times here. You know? I can't believe you would do this. Do this to me. Of all the people, and you say here, with no evidence, you say this thing, and you've said it here, and do you have any scrap of honesty in your body, good sir? Do you say this thing? Like, he doesn't say anything, you know? Unruhe is, comparatively, a lot more direct. You know?
As I was trying to answer you when you muted me again.
He also muted like 8 times.
Because am I supposed to believe that you don't know anything about what Haas is doing? Like you don't coordinate these attacks on people? I have seen the tweets come out.
I don't coordinate with Haas.
I do not see now when I finally get a chance to talk, you talk over me.
Yeah, because
I don't see. There you go again. Can you shut up so that I can answer?
All right, you got a minute. Go ahead.
No. I don't believe you for a second. I have no reason to believe you. I have every reason to believe that you are a part of it. No, I don't have proof. But that's not even really the point for me. I know that the both of you are greasy bastards who do stuff like that. Oh, the guy who says poppycock is laughing at someone else's choice of words. Really?
You got a minute, man. Go ahead.
Besides
dumb poppycock.
I don't believe for a second that you're not involved in it. You guys coordinate things in communications with each other all the time, the same way I coordinate things with other people in my group.
My proof came to me in a dream, and you're guilty, Caleb. Guilty. I made it the fuck up! Fuck. God damn it.
So I don't believe you. You can say you did nothing, of course, but I don't believe you. I know you are a lying two-faced snake. Like, I know, because Mason Steiner told me how you were cutting me up behind my back when you were pretending to be my friend.
All right, are you done?
Unless, of course, you're calling Mason Steiner a liar.
Are you done?
Oh, you're not going to answer that. Oh, okay.
No, I'm going to respond when you're done because I don't want to be interrupting you.
Yeah, the answer is no.
Right.
There's no definitive proof, but I have no reason to believe you.
Okay, well, Jason, I'm going to speak now. Jason, I have a full-time job as a reporter. I am trying to set up the Center for Political Innovation as a socialist think tank that can educate people about socialism. I have a lot on my plate right now, and one thing I do not have the time to do is get on Discord servers and come up with childish conspiracies to frame you for crimes.
He wrote a whole book on me.
And while I like Haas, and Haas has spoken at CPI events before, there are some pretty big differences between us politically. For example, you know, I mean, I don't want to go into detail, but I think you know, I mean, he says the USA is already socialist, stuff like that. There's points that we just don't agree on, right? The infrared community is separate from the CPI community. Now, there's some overlap, but Jason, I really don't have the time or the interest to sit on Discord and try to frame you up for things that you haven't done. And the fact that you believe that because I talk to Haas sometimes is pretty ridiculous. And you didn't say, I think it's possible. You accused me of committing a very serious crime against you on social media, and you admit you don't have evidence of this. You just know that I associate with Haas, and that I'm a greasy liar or whatever you just said. Actually, my hair is pretty dry. I'm kind of the opposite. You know, I have like dry scalp. I use like moisturizing shampoo. It's not exactly greasy, but I kind of am the opposite of greasy. But aside from that, you know, maybe I eat too much greasy food like onion rings. But aside from that, you claim.
What the fuck is happening? Burger King! Burger King onion ring! Fuck. Fuck. Holy shit.
That I was committing a very serious crime against you without evidence, simply based on the fact that I talked to Haas and someone in Haas's community allegedly did this. Do you have any ethical concerns about making such statements in the public sphere?
To once again answer what you said, because you just misrepresented what I said. I didn't say that you personally sat down and planned this. That's what Haas is for. I said you were a part of it. I didn't say you were solely the person responsible for it. So once again, you've misrepresented what I said. And I don't believe that you guys just talk sometimes. You're you have to be in frequent communication. I don't believe you. I am calling you a liar. I have already explained my position. That's not what greasy bastard means. You should look it up. And yes, I don't believe you. I know that you are a pathological liar, like accusing me of being pro-imperialist. That is why I took that position. And you were going to respond.
Well, before you pivot away, I'm going to read you your tweet. It doesn't say,
Oh
I am
my
suspicious
God!
that maybe Caleb might be involved in something.
Before you pivot away, mute. Mute? Doink? Fuck!
Suspicious. No, it says, Haas/Maupin are going to frame me for child pornography. Jason, I can unequivocally say here before the entire world that I have never had anything to do with trying to frame you or any other person for child pornography. And that I think it's highly irresponsible to make such extreme allegations in a public sphere without at least checking on them. You could have tweeted out, I'm suspicious that this is going to happen. You could have tweeted out, there are rumors going around that this is happening, but you said that this is a whole undisputed fact. And that's irresponsible. Now, I know you don't like being called Maoist rebel, but my understanding is that the N in MRN stands for news. And throughout this debate, one common theme that we are seeing is you putting out false statements, like, you know, trying to say that things like the Shambara rebellion didn't happen, trying to say that I'm a fascist because I talked to somebody who's not a fascist, who therefore I don't agree with, but even somehow I'm a fascist. You continue to say
All
things that
all
are
right.
not factually accurate because you have a feeling. Because you don't like Christianity, it makes it okay to deny history. Because you don't like the Canadian truckers movement, me in the United States saying that they're right about vaccine mandates makes me a fascist.
Okay, so Caleb's response to this is to not respond to any of it and continue grandstanding. You hate Christianity, so you lie about history. Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Continue to say things that are not true. These huge leaps that you make. And if journalism and news is what MRN is really about, that really blows your credibility. I mean, are you telling me on here that MRN reports things that are not factual? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, so you just took the time to rehash everything I said and misrepresent it again. I never said these historical things never happened. I claimed it in the context that you were trying to claim that it was somehow related to socialism was wrong. We already went over that. So you're lying about what I said again.
Nope.
I never said, because
sorting
because it was a
algorithms.
fascist movement and you were...
Hey! Thank you for the 20 gifted tier 1 subs. Holy shit. That's super kind of you. Yeah, rootin' and tootin'. Thank you very, very much. And they instructed me not to even read the dono message. So I guess I won't. Thank you, though.
We're supporting a fascist movement. And I'm saying specifically here, right now, unequivocally, you are a liar. I do not believe you. I have no reason to believe you because you have pathologically lied to me.
True, Inkabla.
That's exactly what you do. Right when you muted me, I was about to say, you're about to mute me as I was trying to answer.
All right.
All you've done is literally repeat back what I've said, misrepresenting it, making positions I never claimed, with points that I never made, and then say, "Oh, you see, he's wrong."
Okay. Well, let's pivot to I think the final topic that I want to speak with you about.
Pivot? Wait, what does he think pivot means?
You made a video. I'll pull up the date because I want to be accurate here, unlike some people. That you made a video, May 30th, 2022. And you said China never tried a peaceful transition because it wouldn't make sense.
In a socialist terms, no.
Okay. Well, I'm about to pull something up on the screen here for you, and I want you to tell me that this didn't happen. Basically, are you ready? Hold on. Gotta love.
Is it some small obscure thing that nobody even knows about because history's forgotten it because of how irrelevant it was?
Well,
I'm guessing it was.
I don't think so, but maybe that's your opinion.
It just makes it funnier, Inkabla.
Chiang Kai-shek asked Mao Zedong to parley in Chongqing.
So?
After World War II, the Chinese Communist Party asked to form a coalition government, with Chiang Kai-shek. Did this not happen?
So he made an offer that he knows that he wouldn't take.
But that doesn't matter.
No, your point is completely invalid.
No.
It is, because this is something that would never be accepted by a Marxist.
Wait a second.
No, so this doesn't make any sense.
How does it not make sense?
Your claim doesn't make any sense.
You said that China
would
never
not.
tried.
That wouldn't be changing anything.
Okay.
That wouldn't be.
You said China never tried a peaceful transition to socialism, and I have presented you from the Daily Worker, a communist newspaper, reporting that they did. But that's not the only piece of evidence I have that they did this. I am going to read you from the works of Mao Zedong, August 16th, 1945. Quote, "The Communist Party of China is firmly opposed to civil war. The Communist Party of China has persistently advocated the formation of a coalition government. The carrying out of this proposal can prevent civil war, but there is one precondition: strength. If the people unite and increase their strength, China can prevent civil war." That is Mao on the eve of civil war with Chiang Kai-shek trying to stop it and trying to form a coalition government. Is that a fabrication? Go ahead.
It's not a fabrication.
Wait, this is absolutely meaningless. Obviously, any revolutionary group is going to say, like, hey, were it not for the, were it not for the government refusing to meet our demands, we would be willing to work with the government, but they're the ones who refuse. But, like, every revolutionary group says that, right? Because they're trying to gain legitimacy and seem like they're the, the more reasonable ones. Isn't it commonplace for basically every violent group, whether or not the violence is justified, by the way? I'm not against all revolutions, The American revolutionaries were violent, no doubt about it. Isn't it always the case that they offer diplomatic solutions? They often just know that the diplomatic solutions they're proposing are so unreasonable that there's a 0% chance they'll be taken. But, like, there's no reason, like, there's no point in not doing it, Like, didn't Nazi Germany even offer, like, pre-existing terms of surrender to the countries they invaded? Wait, am I wrong, or did they not do that with France? Did Germany not immediately go like, France, we don't want to fight if you will simply hand your territory? Wait, hold on. They did to the UK. Yeah, they did to the UK. I don't remember. Did they do with France or just the UK? I'll look it up later because I feel like I'd have to go digging around. But I know that's a pretty common. I know that's a pretty common thing. The Nazis' plan was centered around the UK. Wasn't a bunch of Nazi messaging like, it's such a shame we have to fight our Anglo brothers on the Isle. If only they would see reason and surrender to the German people, lest we not need this violence. You know, like, wasn't that... I don't know. I mean, it's all a rhetoric thing. Of course, they still want to fucking bulldoze the UK, but yeah.
And again, you
Russia's doing it in UK.
I was about to answer you. No, I mean, a coalition government is nonsense because that wouldn't make it socialism. That wouldn't be a peaceful transition to socialism. Why would Chiang Kai-shek agree to a sharing of power to do the opposite of what it is that he's doing? But you're saying that if Mao had accepted, they would have transferred to a socialist society and he would have gone along with it?
No.
Sorry,
I'm
no.
reading
Well,
you.
then the whole thing doesn't make any sense.
I'll explain to you why it's relevant. Remember long live Leninism? Remember that?
Sorry, pigeon wants out. I didn't even know she was in here. They did it with America, too. They said we could be a great nation if we could shake off our Jewish influence. Yeah, the Nazis tried that shit with a lot of white countries. If there were enough whiteys in there, they were like, hey, so sorry. So sorry we have to do this.
Document that we talked about, I'm going to read to you from this document in which Mao calls out Khrushchevite revisionism. This is what he said, quote, "It would be in the best interests of the people if the proletariat could obtain power and carry out the transition to socialism by peaceful means. It would be wrong not to make use of such a possibility when it occurs. Whenever an opportunity for peaceful development of the revolution presents itself, communists must firmly seize it, as Lenin did, so as to realize the aim of the socialist revolution. The question is not whether the proletariat is willing to carry out a peaceful transformation. It is rather whether the bourgeoisie will accept such a peaceful transformation. This is the only way in which the followers of Lenin approach the question. So is Mao a dirty, rotten revisionist because he says, if we can have a peaceful transition, that's better? I mean, is that a crime? That's all I've ever said, is that it would be better to have a peaceful transition. I don't advocate violence. I advocate a peaceful transition. And if there is a violent revolution, that's because the capitalists won't allow a peaceful transition. Jason, it really grinds my gears because my whole life, people have been telling me that communists are murderers, communists are terrorists, communists advocate violence. But everywhere in the world that there's been a communist revolution, it's only happened. The violent revolution has only happened because we tried to organize peacefully and our democratic rights were suppressed. Ultra-leftism, punchism.
So this is obviously incredibly fucking stupid. The idea that your movement is being suppressed because your minority of a population can't, like, completely replace the existing government is incredibly stupid. What he's basically saying right now is that any time a violent revolution happens, the violence is the fault of the pre-existing government for not simply ceding to the demands of the revolutionaries, no matter how unpopular they were. Like, all Caleb Maupin has to do here is say, well, I'm in favor of revolutionary violence as long as it, leads to communism, which would be a consistent worldview. But he can't say that because a big part of his messaging is being palatable and appealing to far-right groups in the West. And he can't really do that if he's willing to say something as scary and ostracizing as, yeah, I'm okay with a communist revolution taking over the United States. So instead he'll do some definition word game bullshit where he'll be like, well, I don't believe in violent revolution. I do believe in workers' movements like January 6th, however, expressing their revolutionary potential. Like, it all has to be buried under euphemism.
Blanquism, terrorism have always been rejected by revolutionaries. Why are you trying to help the Department of Homeland Security?
Terrorism has always been rejected by revolutionaries? What? Okay. Not my understanding of the issue. I thought that was a pretty common one, actually, but
security.
Big
and the FBI
if true.
Shut down peaceful revolutionary organizations that are trying to organize
peaceful revolutionary.
Now, clearly,
okay.
In that document is saying if a peaceful revolution is possible, that's what we want to do. There's nothing revisionist about saying that. That's called scientific Marxism, Jason. And when it's not possible, the people have a right to defend themselves. And the revolutions of history have been acts of self-defense when people had no other choice. We are not bomb throwers. We're not punchists. We don't, I think you said revolution is when you take a gun and start shooting. No, revolution is when people start organizing in their communities for their rights to make a better country, and the grinding gears of imperialism and capitalism get in their way when they have no other choice. Violent revolutions only happen because the capitalists block a peaceful transition. And this is a historical fact that is obscured by the propaganda against communism. And I don't know why that makes you so angry. Go ahead.
Okay, you cut me off literally when I was in the middle of answering you. That quote by Mao was a statement. It was a politically pushed statement. It wasn't sincere. It's like when the U.S. says, "Oh, wait, I know. Please shut the fuck up and let me answer," and keep making your cute little Vaush faces.
What?
Just like
Why do I keep coming up?
Shut up, can you? I know you're a great talker. I am trying to answer you.
You just called Mao a liar. You just said that Mao.
You
was
just
lying.
called
He wanted there to be
soy.
bloodshed in the streets. He wanted there to be
Mao. You called Mao. Dude, you can't do that. Soy. It really is scripture to them. That's it. That's all. That's the entirety of the engagement. It's just scripture. You never leave these people's heads. Well, I think the reason Unruhe keeps bringing me up is because he knows it makes Caleb Maupin angry, which it totally does, which is very, very funny. You know, I'm not, you know, don't get me wrong. I'm happy to have my name invoked if it means, you know, like these guys get triggered or whatever. It's pretty funny, but yeah.
be killing. He didn't want a peaceful transition. He was just a psychopath who wanted to kill. That's what you just said. Mao was lying. It wasn't a sincere statement. No, it was. The Chinese people didn't want a civil war. Chiang Kai-shek and U.S. imperialism forced a civil war on them. How dare you?
I can't even fucking
How
answer.
dare
I
you?
can't answer. You keep muting me as I'm trying to answer.
And you got
You're
angry.
talking over me when I'm trying to answer you.
Go ahead and answer. Tell me about how Mao wanted violence and killing.
No, Mao didn't want it, but he knew that's what it was going to come down to.
That's
that was
what I
I'm
said.
trying to answer you. Shut up. You're not letting me answer. It's a political statement to trying to make it look like he was trying to avoid war when he knew very well that it was going to be war. Everybody knew it was going to be war. There wasn't going to be any peaceful thing, but he was trying to make it look like that he was pushing that. That is done by leaders from every end of the spectrum. Yes, let me answer, please.
The imperialists forced a war. There's another statement by Mao called Chiang Kai-shek is forcing civil war. That's what he said. Yes, Mao preferred a peaceful
That is what literally all aggressors say every single time. Everyone, from the Nazis to the Russians with Ukraine, everyone says that every single time. Yeah, dude, like, I know this government existed before and they were here, but, like, we have different ideas, and, like, they're starting this war by not giving their government to us. Like, yeah, what? Like, again, the funny thing is, this is actually a very... Like, he's faking it here, but it's a very liberal argument from Caleb Maupin, right? The idea, like, no violence. Like, even liberals will sometimes get behind the idea of, like, morally justifiable violence, like the American Revolution or whatever, you know? But, yeah, he can't, because messaging and so on.
transition, and it wasn't possible because Chiang Kai-shek wouldn't allow it. But your notion that somehow advocating a peaceful transition is revisionist goes against everything I just read you from Long Live Leninism and from Mao.
You fucking cut me off when I'm answering you again, and I'm just going to leave. Because you're a fucking coward. You're interrupting. You're constantly interrupting me, and then cutting me off when I try to answer. I was literally answering you when you muted me.
Go ahead and answer.
First of all...
By the way, like, I already would have left. Well, this is why I'll never have a convo off stream where the other person can mute me. Caleb, I think, is muted. I think Caleb is actually muted Unruhe in this convo more than I've muted everyone I've ever talked to combined in the entirety of my streaming career. That's not a joke. I actually do not mute people very often. I think there are maybe 3 conversations in my entire streaming career where I've muted someone, and of them, the one where I muted the most, I think, was Mel, and I think that was 3 or 4 times. That's all I remember. Socialist MMA, it happened. It's not that common. I actually think that Caleb has muted, and he's muted him mid-sentence, too. Not even when they couldn't get a word in over each other, just when he was like, yeah, I want him to stop talking now. The one you muted the most was the Trotsky Nazi guy. It's always the tankies, isn't it? It does seem to come up the most often with them.
My personal opinion is that that's bullshit, and Lenin was wrong. But let's say these are things that Lenin tells people to do that he knows aren't going to work. This is the path we take. And then when it gets proven that there is no peaceful transition, then you go to violence. That's the point. And frankly, I've really had it with you cutting me off and preventing me from answering you, and then talking over me when I'm trying to answer you. Because that's the kind of dishonest piece of shit you really are.
Say my name.
If this was the last thing to be talked about...
Say my name.
Yeah, I'm calling you a liar. You're a fucking pathological liar. So if that was the last subject that we had to talk about, I think I'm going to go.
All right. Well, now, Jason, Jason has called Mao a liar and said Mao didn't want.
You can't do that.
And Jason also said that Lenin said the exact same thing that Mao said. But I noticed that Jason doesn't call Lenin a dirty revisionist. He doesn't call Lenin a dirty liar. He doesn't call Lenin a sellout, pathological liar revisionist. If Jason had been brave enough to stay on here, I would have asked him, why is he so triggered by the notion of a peaceful revolution? Why is he so triggered by advocating a peaceful transition to socialism and not glorifying violence? Why is he so committed to violence and the notion of a violent revolution? Why is he so committed to that he would get angry like this? I mean, that he would accuse Mao of lying. Like, this guy wants violence. I don't get it. Why does he want violence so bad? And I kept asking him, where is this anger coming from? Right? You know, I mean...
like, obviously, it's pretty self-evident that he's a dishonest piece of shit, but notice how the only thing Unruhe said is that, like, these revolutionary leaders went into this knowing there would be violence, and, like, their efforts at diplomacy were only, like, a placating measure. They weren't, like, a serious attempt at resolving these concerns diplomatically, because a coalition government between socialists and the national Chinese government wouldn't have been socialism. Like, you can't achieve socialism through a proportional coalition government where the majority of the government is ruled by anti-socialists. It doesn't work that way. Of course, under Mao's government, you know, it was still ruled by anti-socialists, but whatever. But anyway, Caleb Maupin, in response to this, has to do this really weird, like, why does he want violence so badly? What a violent boy. What dark thoughts plague his mind? Because psychiatrizing, making a psychiatric issue out of very obvious political realities is a pretty common, like, fascist tactic as well. It's not like you can't disagree on something politically. It has to be that the people that you're disagreeing with, pathologizing, yeah, the people that you're disagreeing with are suffering from some kind of, like, lesser moral state, or in this case, like, you know, predisposition towards violence. Of course, Caleb Maupin is fully in favor of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which has already claimed the lives of tens of thousands of people. Probably at this point more than 100,000 people in total. You know, but what is VDS then? It's different when I do it. People who dislike me really are mentally ill.
This is amazing. You know, we got an hour and 15 minutes before he ultimately rage quit. I think he rage quit twice, but he said his internet went out. But that was quite a debate, folks. That was quite a debate. You know, Jason, I don't know if you're still watching. But I just want to make a closing statement. And if you're still watching, this statement is directed at you. And if you're listening, I hope you hear this.
All right, we're taking bets right now. Do you think this is going to be an actual direct refutation of any arguments, an attempt at doing so, a dishonest, bloviating, patronizing, self-aggrandizing rant, or do you think this is going to be an effort at, like, condescendingly pathologizing Unruhe's political positions, like this whole "I hope you get over whatever is wrong with you, buddy"? I think it's going to be the last one, personally. I think it's option D. It's either C or D. It could be both. We'll see.
If not, so be it. Jason, we use at the Center for Political Innovation the image of Abraham Lincoln.
C. Vibes instantly.
Abraham Lincoln was the president of the United States who led the country during the U.S. Civil War. And during the U.S. Civil War, slavery was defeated. The moment in which slavery was defeated and the slaveholders who were aligned with the British Empire and wanted to keep intact their barbaric criminal system of slavery was defeated, that was a great moment in American history. Harriet Tubman became the first woman to lead U.S. soldiers into battle. We had great abolitionists like Frederick Douglass and Joseph Wedemeyer and others. It was a beautiful coalition, the second American Revolution to defeat slavery. It was a great moment in American history when slavery was defeated.
Unironically, do you think rhetorical tactics like VDS are semi-fascistic? I'd argue so, but it's permissible because jokes are funny. No, I don't think so at all. I directly address, like, all criticisms directed towards me. Seriously, I can't stop addressing them. People won't shut the fuck up. I'm constantly inundated with criticisms that I address. But I think we have to recognize just an unavoidable fact, and it's that people who dislike me are fucking insane. Like, we have to acknowledge this. We cannot deny it.
And over the course of the U.S. Civil War, Abraham Lincoln changed. Abraham Lincoln did not want to abolish slavery. That is a fact. Abraham Lincoln really, really wanted to keep slavery intact. He just wanted to not have the federal government accommodate slavery. He felt that slavery was wrong, but he didn't want to mess with the South and their slave system. He just didn't want it to expand. And during his debates, during the Lincoln-Douglas debates, Lincoln said some pretty racist things. You know, he said, well, just because I'm against slavery doesn't mean I believe black people are equal, etc. He said some pretty racist things. But Lincoln took office, and the slaveholders took up guns and tried to overthrow the government. So Lincoln was forced to build a coalition with the abolitionists and with Harriet Tubman and with Frederick Douglass and with the labor unions. And in the process of building that coalition, Lincoln changed. Lincoln changed. Lincoln's views shifted. W.E.B. Du Bois, the great Marxist scholar, writes about this. And even though Lincoln came into office trying to hold off a civil war, trying to not abolish slavery, he was forced by historical conditions to actually abolish slavery. He was forced by historical conditions to align with slave revolutionaries like Frederick Douglass, to align with Marxists even, and have Joseph Weydemeyer, a Marxist, be a leader of his military, have August Willock become a brigadier general in his army. Struggle changes people. It's material conditions that lead to...
Yeah, so basically what he's saying right now is that if you're a revolutionary or far left or a Marxist, that working with people who don't fully agree with you but are willing to work with you is a good idea. Then why is he against working with the Squad and with the Democratic Party, I wonder? Wait, hold on! Wait, hold on! Hold on, I'm noticing a bit of a contradiction. If his argument here is that introducing left-leaning values into organizations with which we share some things in common, in Lincoln's case, the abolition of slavery, then why is he so fervently opposed to any kind of electoral or political support or coalition building with the largest liberal majority in the country, which does agree with us on at least some basic things, improvements certainly over what we have currently? Huh. It's almost like none of this means anything. What he's basically doing right now is saying, hey, leftists used to side with Abraham Lincoln, so now why don't we side with Donald Trump? That's what he's actually saying. We used to work with the most progressive option at the time to achieve political goals that we shared, so to celebrate that legacy, I think that we should also work together with fascists to achieve fascist goals. I am very smart.
Great revolutions and great moments in history. And in the course of those events, people change. There's a lot of those truckers that were marching against the vaccine mandates, not because they're racist or they're Ku Klux.
Literally, word to word, Abraham Lincoln and the Canadian Freedom Convoy. Yes, two countries, two people, one struggle. You know, perfectly comparable. Oh, hey, Keffels. We're watching some tremendous content here. Absolutely fantastic. Have you seen his take on abortion? No, I don't. I'm sure it's stupid.
Klan or they're Anglo-Saxon supremacists because they're mad about the mandates and they're mad about the economic conditions that they're facing. And my belief is that those truckers can change also. That the intervention of revolutionaries to show them that the problem isn't socialism, the problem isn't just Justin Trudeau, it's the whole capitalist imperialist system, that Russia and China and Venezuela and Iran and Cuba are their allies against the global monopolists and imperialists. The intervention of revolutionaries can be key in changing people. When contradictions exist in society, it is the duty of revolutionaries to intervene in those moments and push a revolutionary message. And in that struggle against the slaveholders and their uprisings, revolutionaries intervened, and Abraham Lincoln changed by meeting with Frederick Douglass, by aligning with the labor movement. Abraham Lincoln's views shifted over the course of the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln, by the time he was leaving office, was sounding quite revolutionary because he was at the center of an anti-slavery coalition. This is how history works. Mao and the Chinese Communist Party, first they worked within the KMT government. They were part of the KMT party. They didn't even have their own party. They were a faction within the KMT party. But then violence was perpetrated against them, so they fled to the countryside and they waged People's War. Then Japan invaded, so they entered a military alliance against the Japanese invaders. And then after that, they still tried to have a coalition government. But when it became clear there was no other choice, it became clear that Chiang Kai-shek was going to slaughter them and murder them. The people of China had no other choice but to defend their liberated territories and their land reform by having an armed revolution. And that this is how conscious revolutionaries operate. They go where the struggle is. They go where confrontations are existing. They go where working people see their interests as being contrary to the state. They go where working people are in motion, and they organize them, and they lead them, and they give them political direction. And this is how history works. And in order to actually understand this, you have to be able to talk to people. You can't say that you're against America and you want to destroy America. You can say, no, we love this country. We love the people of this country, but this country was founded on slavery. This country was founded on the genocide of the native people. This country was founded in an impure way, and it's cursed. There's a curse hanging over U.S. society. And that we need the country to be refounded upon new values. We need the country to be reborn on new values of compassion and brotherhood and solidarity. That's what ultimately...
All right, so it was number 3. That's the answer, right? A long, bloviating, self-aggrandizing rant that doesn't actually address anything that Unruhe said, but instead, equating the struggle of abolitionism under Lincoln to the Freedom Convoy truckers or whatever. Yeah. Absolutely spectacular. Does he go on for another 10 minutes? Do I have to listen to Maupin for another 10 minutes?
The job of Marxists is to do. Our job is to intervene when the people are in motion. Our job is not to trail behind them, gesticulating and criticizing. Our job is not to stand in the way and oppose them. Our job is to march at their head and lead them. And it's only a matter of time before the American people are rising. The gas prices are through the roof. The food prices are through the roof. Homelessness is rising. They're criminalizing homeless people across this country. And at this point, the American people are angry. They're angry at Wall Street. They're angry at the Pentagon. They're angry at the big banks and corporations. And our job as conscious revolutionaries is to find a way to get the American people who are angry at this government, who are angry at the big banks and corporations, to understand that they have a common destiny and a common ally in the people of Iran, the people of Russia, the people of the...
Iran! Jesus. Yeah, okay, so his shilling aside. He is correct in the sense that it's the responsibility of leftists to agitate and to coordinate leftist sentiment when the proletariat is upset with the status quo. The issue is, like, he doesn't believe anything that he's saying right now. If he actually believed this, then he would be in favor of democratic entryism. He would be in favor of people working within the Democratic Party to move liberals over to a state of, like, radical leftism. But he's not, you know? He exclusively advocates in favor of and supports far-right movements in the West. And that's it. He's not consistent on the political entryism thing. He is consistent on the far-right thing. It's really that simple. Also, his analysis is leaving out the fact that just because people are being radicalized does not mean that they are being radicalized by economic conditions. If that was the case, after the Great Depression, Weimar Germany would have turned into a socialist republic. But it didn't, did it? Instead, it turned into a government that Caleb Maupin actually would have liked to have lived in.
The Donetsk People's Republic, the people of Venezuela, the people of Nicaragua,
Donetsk
China,
People's Republic.
And that the struggle globally against U.S. imperialism and the struggle domestically against big banks and corporations and the Pentagon is one struggle. The people of the world must unite to defeat U.S. imperialism.
Ooh.
That is our job. And we won't do it by saying we want to tear down and destroy the country and we hate everyone here and they're all a bunch of Euro settlers. And we won't do it. We won't do it by going around advocating violence. No.
A lot of DPR and LPR leaders are fascist too. Oh yeah, of course.
We should get people to understand we want to make a better country, and we should get people to understand that Wall Street is their enemy. And just like Lincoln changed over the course of struggle, I think Jason can change. My hope is that Jason will overcome whatever his antisocial stigma is and
here it
start
is.
getting involved in an actual movement. Jason, if you're watching,
I
would like to formally invite you to the Center for Political Innovation's 4-day national gathering that we are having in Kansas. You're invited.
We'll see.
As ugly as you were in this debate, as much as you cussed me out and called me greasy and shitty, and
he's
all these
doing
awful
it.
things, I want to invite you to come to the Center for Political Innovation's 4-day national gathering, where revolutionary-minded people from all across this country are going to come together to try and figure out how we can win the American people to socialism, how we can do our job. Read Long Live Leninism. It's our job to advocate a peaceful transition. It is our job to win the working people of the United States, to see that they have a common destiny with the people of the world struggling against U.S. imperialism. We want to do our job. We take this seriously, Jason. This isn't an internet LARP. This isn't performative politics. This is serious. People are hungry. People are dying. People are suffering. I've been around the world. I've met with real anti-imperialists around the world, and I take this job very, very, very seriously. I think about the people of Yemen that are getting bombed with U.S.-made bombs pouring in from Saudi Arabia. I think about the people of the eastern regions, Donetsk and Lugansk, that have been bombarded by U.S. imperialists, allies, and the Azov.
My people go out to the victims of imperialism everywhere. The Russian people in East Ukraine. Yeah. It's you can. It's really is beyond parody, right? I feel like I should do some research. Okay. You know how there really wasn't that much of a fundamental ideological difference between Stalinist Russia and, like, Nazi Germany in terms of, like, their belief of the nation state and the suppression of the people in favor of, like, the common will? Obviously, like, stuff about, like, race and specifics is different, but in terms of some fundamentals there, you know, they definitely lockstep. And how Soviet Russia was, like, very willing to work with Nazi Germany, and it was Nazi Germany that backed off that arrangement, funnily enough. I wonder, back during the years when the Soviet Union was part of the Axis, Could you find, like, records of Stalinists all across the West arguing that it's the responsibility of the proletariat of the West to support Germany in their anti-imperialist fight against, like, international, like, Judaism or something? I actually wonder, right? Because if they were military allies, there were almost certainly Stalinists that were out there writing papers defending Soviet Union's decision to work with Nazi Germany. And if you went back and looked at that, a lot of that would probably be pleas to the proletariat to understand the need to fight back against Western capitalism. Right? I feel like you could find that. I should have someone look for that sometime, or look for it myself. Because they were allies for like a good while, you know? It's not like it was just 1 month. I mean, they would have had time to produce that propaganda in joint.
Battalion in Ukraine for so long. I think about the people of South and Central America who are fleeing because their countries have been devastated, but I also think about the working people of Pennsylvania and Ohio and Michigan and Arizona and Texas and how they've been devastated, and I see the potential for an...
Also, slight point here, noteworthy that he chose, like, red states for that. I don't know, it's a little thing, but, you know, the plight of the worker is universal to Americans, and he just happened to choose, like very, like, quintessentially red states. It's just a little interesting, you know?
An alliance, or an anti-imperialist alliance. And if you're serious about Marxism, and you're serious about socialism, put the weed down. You hear me, Jason? Put the weed down. Put the hallucinogens down. Start connecting with other anti-imperialists. And start doing your job. Start doing your job.
Fuck, that's funny.
Because this is getting serious. You know?
Why am I lagging? Stop lagging.
Bob Dylan, he has that song, All Along the Watchtowers. There's a line in the song where
Don't
he says,
ruin
"Let
that
us not
song.
speak falsely now. The hour is getting late." I don't like Bob Dylan, but I think that speaks to the moment we're in. We are headed for a real crisis.
Why doesn't he like Bob Dylan? I want to know.
And waving airsoft guns on the internet is over. The time for burning American flags is over. The time for advocating violence is over. The time for not being serious, the time for LARPing and acting like a child on the internet is over. We need to get out of the movement to the masses. We need the working people of the United States to understand that they are under attack and are ready to fight. We need to get them to understand that only socialism can save America.
Wait, they're under attack, they need to fight, but stop LARPing and advocating for violence? Wait, what? Wait, are we advocating for violence or not? By the way, Jason Unruh wasn't even advocating for violence. Jason Unruh was just pointing out the objectively true, correct fact that revolutionary movements in the past have only used diplomacy as like a rhetorical tool and not as a serious effort at resolving their problems because they knew that their goals would never be accepted by the majority government. Unruh didn't even advocate for violence. He only pointed out the fact that revolutionaries, like, if you're like a group of like 2,000 revolutionaries and you like write to Washington and you're like, hey, listen, we're going to bomb your capital, but if you're willing to give all power in the US to us, we won't do it. I hope that you understand the importance of resolving this in a diplomatic fashion. And like Washington's like, no, and then you're like, oh, okay, and you do the bombing. Like, that's okay, yeah, like doing violence there.
Only socialism can make their lives better. Only socialism can make a better country. And that by aligning with the people of the world and by fighting for a whole new America.
Wait, is Bob Dylan Jewish?
Values,
oh, shit.
Tearing down racism and colonialism, tearing down the prison industrial complex, getting rid of the Pentagon, rebuilding this country on new values, on new...
Wait. I wonder. I'm being very uncharitable right now, but to be fair, Maupin does make it easy, doesn't he?
Foundation that by doing that, we can make their lives better. It's time that we took history's challenge seriously. It's not a fashion statement. It's not an emotional way to be antisocial and get mad at your parents and get revenge. It's about life and death for people all over the world and here in the United States. And it's time to take this seriously. It's time to take this seriously. And Jason, if you're watching, I will forgive you for every nasty tweet you've made about me. I will forgive you.
What did I say?
But I'd like you to stop, please. Stop accusing me of trying to frame you for child pornography.
Just stop.
Stop accusing me of
Just
being
stop.
part of some fascist conspiracy. Please stop repeating the lies of the synthetic left. I just want to say
I'm the
this,
synthetic
that
left.
Jason, you can be a child on the internet and wave your airsoft gun around and talk about your being so revolutionary, but I'm in a very different position than you. My Twitter has been labeled Russian state-affiliated media. My PayPal has been banned. I've been banned from PayPal. And I can't even get into some of the other things that are going on. But I'm in a little bit of a serious situation. And I'm trying to build a peaceful, socialist educational organization here in the United States. That's what I'm trying to do. And in order to do that in an effective way, I can't look like a fool. I need to be responsible. And you're in a very different position. And you can get on the internet and act like you want violence and act like, well, Mao was just lying. He wanted there to be killing in China. You can do that. You can do that all you want. But some of us are serious, Jason. And the stakes are a lot higher for those of us who are serious. And so we're going to act differently than you act. We're going to phrase things differently than you phrase.
I'm really, really glad that this cuts off mid-chest, because there's no way he's not rocking a stiffy right now, right? This is so fucking self-aggrandizing. Well, there are serious such... Like, holy shit, I've never taken myself 1/50th as seriously as he does here. Jesus Christ. My Twitter has been labeled Russian state-affiliated media. You have no idea what the revolutionary struggle looks like. When I beg for donations to fund my next meetup where a bunch of fascists will come together and, like, Sieg Heil a portrait of Lenin, you know, makes it quite difficult.
Things. It's not because we're sellouts. It's not because we're phonies. It's because we're serious about this. And we know the crisis is coming. And pretty soon the American people are going to be in motion against the ruling elite. And if we don't march at their head and lead them, somebody else is.
Ruling elite.
You're complaining about these truckers in Canada and who's leading them. Well, my question for you is, why aren't you leading them, Jason? Why aren't you the one leading them? Why is socialist politics not leading that movement in Canada? That's the question I've been wrangling with for years. At the World Festival of Youth and Students in Quito, Ecuador, and then later the one in Sochi, Russia, I met with communists from around the world. And in very polite terms, they said, get your shit together. Stop acting like nuts. Build a base among the population. Socialists in America have failed. And in order to not fail, and in order to build the kind of movement that can save the United States from the pending crisis, we have to change the way we're acting. We have to get out of the movement to the masses. We need to get the American people to understand that imperialism is their enemy, Wall Street is their enemy, and the people of the world are their allies. And that's how I'll end this debate. So, Jason, if you want to come to the retreat, you're invited. You can send me a message.
I think it's extremely telling, by the way, that when he talks about who the enemy is in the West, he never actually says capitalism, does he? He always says institutions that coincidentally have conspiracy theories around them about Jewish control. Like, he'll always say the bankers, or Wall Street, or the elite, or the Pentagon, or Washington. But he never says, like... Now, again, there's nothing inherently wrong with saying any of those things on their own. The issue is that I've heard him talk for quite a while, and I almost never hear him say capitalism. He doesn't talk about capitalism. He doesn't say, yes, against these superstructures, against these policies, against these concepts, against these beliefs, against these institutions. Instead, he'll talk about Soros. He'll talk about Wall Street. It's very interesting, you know? Very, very interesting. Or it would be if I hadn't already arrived at all my conclusions about him, but, you know. Yeah, he never actually critiques the nature of capitalism, you know? Like, he talks about workers starving and everything, but none of his rhetoric is meaningfully different than what you would hear from any populist leader, regardless of their political affiliation. He'll talk about, like, you know, the workers' struggle, but the workers' struggle to what? What world do you want to build? What system do you disagree with? What are the issues at hand here? Like, what are we talking about, you know? But we'll never know. He won't shut the fuck up about Malthusianism. He's convinced Soros is funding degrowth. Oh, you mean the thing that Nazis tend to believe? Soros funding degrowth in the Western world? Oh, you mean the thing that I only ever hear Nazis talk about?
You know how to reach me. And
yeah, I don't know what his solution is. All I know is that it'll be final.
Yeah, that's really how things end. I think there were some super chats that came in, but I don't think any of them were questions. So I think we'll cut it off here. Thank you, everybody. I might be online later tonight. It just depends. So thanks, everybody. It's been fun. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. So is he really unironically just a Nazi? Well, the real thing is that, like, Caleb Maupin's politics are dictated by the political needs of the Kremlin. The Kremlin is a fascist organization. There's no getting around that. It's also a capitalist one, so he's not anti-capitalist. What he is anti-West. But because he's a anti-West and a fascist, what that means is that when he tries to agitate within the West to get people to hate their own government, which is advantageous to a different geopolitical bloc, he does so by appealing to the right. And the best way to convince the right that they should be anti-American is by convincing the right that America is controlled by Jews or whatever. It's just the easiest, it's just the path of least resistance, you know? But that's the reason why his rhetoric is what it is. He has the simultaneous goal of disrupting intra-Western political discourse and getting people to be supportive of Russian geopolitical interests, while also making sure that that support is framed through a conservative or fascist context. Is Unruh an actual anti-capitalist, or is he a Nazbol? Okay, all I know now about Unruh is that whatever form of crazy tanky he is, he's not a fascist. Maybe we can learn more about Unruh. Maybe we should actually just quickly watch a little something something from Unruh. Hold on. Just a little something something, right? Maybe a little bit? Maoist Rebel News? Isn't that the name of his channel? No, it's just called Jason Unruh now. He's not super prominent anymore. Well, he has one video called Maupin's Dishonesty Exposed. Ukraine faces low morale and deserting soldiers. Interesting. I wonder if we could get Unruh on. I feel like it'd be very, very funny to, like, agitate the tanky left. Well, not left, whatever. The Nazbol right. By like prying him, being like, hey, you know, you pretty funny stuff over there, huh? I feel like that could be funny. What was Putin really planning with the war? I don't want to watch anything related to the Ukraine conflict. I want to look at something that may be descriptive of some broader political positions. Perfect! DPRK announces first COVID cases and deaths. I want to see what he has to say about North Korea. Perfect. No notes.
경애하는 김성은 동지께서
1 second. Why? Why? When did I say that? When did I say that was what I wanted? I never said that. Okay.
국가 비상방역사령부를 방문하시고 전국적인 비상방역 상황을 의뢰하셨습니다. 조선노동당 총비서이시며 조선민주주의인민공화국 국무위원장이신 경애하는 김성은 동지께서
Okay, sorry. Until he cuts in, I guess I have to, like, translate it. Wait, is it all translated?
엄격히 준수하...
Wait! Unruh, you content-stealing thief! I guess that North Korean copyright protections on YouTube probably aren't that strong, huh? Alright, hold on. I'm back. I just... hold on. Here's him playing some GTA 5. Oh, he plays games! Trump on Putin's use of the N-word. What?
Ukraine. If you were the president...
Putin uses the N-word. I call it the N-word. He uses the N-word all the time. That's a no-no. You're not supposed to do that. He uses it on a daily basis. And everybody's so afraid, so afraid, so afraid. And as they're afraid, he uses it more and more. That's why he's doing the kind of things he's doing. He's doing them because he thinks nobody's going to ever attack us because they're all stupid and they're afraid to talk about it.
I totally agree with you.
Okay?
So what do you do
about it? And instead of, excuse me, it's a little complicated.
I'm sorry.
Instead of, you know, kowtowing, instead of Biden saying, oh, he's got nuclear weapons. He keeps saying he's got we have better weapons. We have the greatest submarine power in history.
So what would you say and do?
I would say we have far more than you do, far more powerful than you, and you can't use that word ever again. And if you do, we're going to have problems.
Thank you for watching.
Fuck, dude. Trump is so fucking funny. The N-word they're referring to is nuclear weapons, by the way, not the N-word. God, that's funny. Oh my god, he's so funny. I can't... Can I get a video where... Where Unruhe's just talking. There's a lot of stuff in Ukraine. I just... A lot of these videos here are him, like, critiquing fascism. Anti-Dave Chappelle, anti-Canadian freedom trucker movement thing. Freedom Convoy is a pack of lying racists. I mean, that's, you know... Dengists are the QAnon of the left. Oh my... Wait, hold on. Based alert. Sorry, wait, hold on. A call incoming. Hold on. Fucking collect... Call... Oh, wait, no. Someone paid the charge. From the base department. They've got something to say. Hold on, let me pop this thing out. I love my job.
A couple of days ago, somebody said something that struck as very true to me, and I repeated it on Twitter, much to the chagrin of many Dangists. The person had said, Dangists are basically the QAnon of the left, meaning that they will believe anything and will use insane mental gymnastics in order to justify believing that China is a socialist country, despite literally everything being the opposite.
Oh, shit!
As a QAnon will go to any ends to try to justify something or believe something that's insanely false in order to forward their idea that somehow Trump is the savior. Everything tells us that China is not socialist.
Oh, shit.
In what should be the most fundamental, easiest part to understand, is China literally carrying out helping imperialists kill in the name of imperialism.
I mean,
China has not even admitted. They bragged about it, selling weaponized.
I mean, I would mostly cite the fact that their economy is capitalist, but yeah, okay.
Drones to Saudi Arabia that were used to kill Yemenis. Israel continues to be a huge economic partner for Israel. You know, the one carrying out genocide against Palestinians that dingists oppose, but somehow in their mind,
they say Israel twice.
China doing business with them and making money off of it is somehow okay. In a few days, $8.5 million of military equipment is going to arrive in the Philippines that came from China. It's part of a larger aid package. That military hardware is going to be used to kill the NPA. That would be the communist rebels inside the country. Literally helping them put down a communist revolution. Now, I'm going to have to clarify this because dingists will use their mental gymnastics in this situation. I said part of a larger package. There are also vehicles that are used for fire, rescue, and whatnot. That's part of a larger aid package that's being sent to the Philippines. 8.5 million of that is for military purposes, for actively killing, weapons, etc. So that's separate from the rescue stuff. Because I know dingists are just going to turn around and say, oh, no, it was all rescue stuff, see? No, it's not. There actually is a huge portion of it that is going towards...
It is so fucked up that modern tankies are so bad that, in comparison, Unruhe actually seems to be smart and principled. Like, that is insane. Unruhe was like the universal lolcow of the tanky left 6 years ago. And now, in comparison to the louder, like, lolcows of the tanky left, he's actually much better. Like, much better. He's not he's not out here like openly praising fascist movements the way they are. That is fucking wild. Everything is getting so much worse all the time. Is it possible Unruhe has genuinely gotten better than he was? After this, we're going to take a look at a video about North Korea, okay? we'll see what he has to say about the glorious People's Republic of the monarchist fascist state or whatever. Yeah, the bar is in hell. You have to really fucking work. I bet he would hate hearing me say this too. You know, he'd be really, really, really annoyed. Athean, can you email it to me? Because I can't look at it right now. I love you. Or DM it to me on Discord. Or literally anything. I love you. Do you know I love you? I do.
Killing. Now, I shouldn't have to clarify that. That should be obvious from anybody who would care to check the sources. But you know how dishonest dingus
that's
are.
good.
They
Link
are
that to me
going
when
to
this is
turn
done.
around and claim that. When Nepal finally achieved a revolution against the monarchy, China declared it not socialist and not Maoist. You could maybe make an argument as to why it's not Maoist. I would disagree, but you could make an argument there, and that would be fair. You couldn't argue that it wasn't socialist, and you could argue since then it's been a terrible mess. It has. But China proceeded to block them, not seek out relations with them, stop them, etc. Trying actively to stop.
You do think he'd be a bit more charismatic after having done this for so
The act
long.
of trying to stop communist revolution in the Philippines is literally the epitome of anti-revolution. And Dingus will use any kind of mental gymnastics.
How long has he been doing this?
In
A
order to
long
justify
time.
And that's even at a time when there's hostility between the Philippines and China over the South China Sea. It's a larger issue. I'm not going to go into that here, but suffice to say that there's hostilities between the two countries over the area.
Okay, link the
It's right
North
there.
Korea video. I have to know. Okay, link the North Korea video. I have to know. I want to talk to him. I think it'd be super good content. I don't want to like bad faith arena him. I'll even ignore the fact that he called me a pedophile. I want to talk with him. If I could have a conversation with Unruhe about like the crazy tanky shit, that would be like very. That'd be iconic. Okay, this is from last year. Communism returns to North Korea, the DPRK, okay? Or the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, I think. I don't care enough about North Korea to get the acronym right. I probably say it differently every time.
Now, one of the things for us that's always a problem that we always worry about as Marxists is existing socialist countries turning revisionist. And now I've been very skeptical about the DPRK in the last...
Dude, it's me.
5 to 7 years or so. Ever since 2009, when the portraits of Marx and Lenin were actually removed from Kim Il-sung Square. And then mysteriously the word communism disappears from DPRK literature. All of which is true and did happen. But it appears recently there's been a new drive to include a lot of socialism, communism, a lot of the Marxist language, in particular the word communism, back into DPRK discourse, particularly with regards to the media. Now, this is a very important. Kim Jong-un has gone on a crusade to remove a lot of reactionary elements from the government and to remove a lot of people who what we would describe as capitalist roaders, like Jang Song-thak, who essentially was taking bribes from Chinese companies, because China is socialist apparently, to turn the DPRK into essentially another China. Just make it like the relationship between China and the DPRK would be like the one between the United States and Mexico. So there has been doing this cleaning of house, this reorientating, this rewriting of language that's very positive in my eyes. And I think that this is a really good thing, and it shores up a lot of my faith that they are on the right path. They're not free from criticism, of course, but this reaffirmation of communism being the goal makes me feel better about where the country has been going, and a lot of some of the reforms, like creating private farms, etc., is kind of the opposite of communism. But it appears a lot of it seems to be going in that direction now. There seems to be more state control over the economy, and this is a good thing. This the way things need to be. Now, a lot of this has been learned from a video that was recently put out by the DPRK, which I'm going to borrow from Wukong Daily and rebroadcast that here, because I think it's very important to keep in mind.
Communism, ideal of the Korean people. Communism is the supreme ideal of the Korean people. The communist society does not mean only the high stage of the economic development or the social development. The communist society we desire is a society where all people live a convenient and harmonious life in good health. In the society based on collectivism, it should be regarded as virtue and traits that one thinks first of others before oneself. In this sense, the communist society can be called a society where all people share joy and sorrow with each other.
Is that the definite?
Humanity
Is that
have
the
long
definition
desired
of
the communist
communism?
society, which
A society where all people share joy and sorrow with each other? Jesus Christ. You ever notice with these types, right? Like, they actually never once ever at any point define socialism or communism ever. It's always like, yes, we pursue communism because we like good things and we believe in the people working together. Like, okay? Literally everyone says this. What actual communism are we talking about here? Yeah, hey babe, new state propaganda just dropped. This is whack. Dude, this is what, like, fucking North Korea propaganda sounds like when translated. It's crazy. It'd be funny to listen to sometime, like on stream, as a meme or whatever, you know? I guess for Unruhe, despite him being able to accurately identify fascism in the West, he does his definition of communism is when the state says, yeah, we want communism, as in we want people to work together. Holy fuck. That Horizon Zero Dawn enemy just scared the shit out of me. I was just thinking like, wow, I've played hundreds of hours in this game, and I didn't know that there were crazy animal enemies that will kill you on the mountains. But I guess now I'm about to find out while carrying 200 kilograms of shit. I guess this is how I find out that... Alright. Fucking...
which produces the material wealth altogether. All members of the society should share the mind and breath with common desire to build a society where all people work and are well off equally. No matter how strong the national power may be, if the members of the society live only for the sake of themselves to the best of their ability with different ideas, such a society cannot be called an ideal society of humanity. As the people's interests are different in the society based on individualism, it is inevitable for the members of the society
I've got it! They sound like an anime villain. No joke. This sounds like every, like, megalomaniac anime villain giving the speech about their ideal world. That's what they sound like, yeah. Very, like, broad, apolitical generalizations that sound like this person would fail, like, an entry-level poli-sci class. With, like, extremely loaded language about, like, utopianism or, like, building a better world or, like, collectivism or whatever. But never any, like, specific political prescriptions. That's exactly what this sounds like. That is... Wow, actually, that's... I don't know how I feel about understanding that now. I don't know if that makes me respect the anime more for being realistic about how propaganda works, or if that makes me more black-pilled about the state propaganda. I have no idea. I'm kind of open to interpretations on this.
The habit of thinking about themselves only. It is unimaginable for one to sacrifice one's interests for others. It is peculiar traits of the Korean people to devote their role to the society, the collective, and the future of the country to be prosperous rather than their pleasure. In the democratic...
Literally, that will achieve harmony when the people of Korea learn to put aside their desires to serve the state. Yeah, sorry dog, you're not getting me on board with communism is when people give their lives for the state. I think there's a different ideology that's in favor of that. Sorry. Not working here. Why is this translated into English? I don't know. They translate shit into English. Why not? Oh, yeah, whatever.
People's Republic of Korea, all people are fully displaying the noble virtue and traits under the communist slogan, one for all and all for one. They respect, trust, and cooperate with each other, help others who have problems with their health and difficulties in their living, share joy, and overcome sorrow together.
What?
It is the commonest virtue and traits to share weal and woe with each other. The Workers' Party of Korea is working to build a communist society filled with such virtue.
So it is good to hear that communism as an idea is coming
There we go, it's coming back,
to
guys!
the DPRK after having been removed for what I would call a suspicious amount of time. I'm very glad to see it. And
we were worried. They had us worried.
That which built the DPRK is now going to be taking center stage once again. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this...
Don't worry, the video in the thumb there says NFTs are dumb. I don't know if you can read the text from that size, but yeah, it says they're dumb. It's not pro NFT. Fuck, that's funny. Oh my god, that's all so funny. This is all so funny. I can't deal with it. Imagine using that as evidence communism's coming back. Yeah, the thing is, like, I feel like if anything, this should be a cautionary tale, kind of. Because, I feel like Unruhe... I genuinely... You can disagree if you want. I don't think that Unruhe is stupid. I think that it is... Like, he may be fucking weird. I think in his convo with Caleb Maupin, it's pretty evident that, like, in his ability to identify, like, elements of fascism, like, he has at least a basic understanding of political philosophy, you know? Like, he's not... Like... I think that he... First of all... Okay, a couple of points. First of all, I think that Unruhe is honest. Nothing about him gives me the vibe that he doesn't believe all the shit that he says. I think that when he says something, he believes it. Second of all, I don't think that he's, like, super dumb or whatever. I genuinely don't. So, the question remains, how can a person who is honest, and at least reasonably smart, believe the things that he believes about North Korea? The answer is that our brains are mush and life is terrifying. That's all I have to say. That's all I have. All I have is, yeah, humans it just turns out humans are incredibly susceptible to brainwashing, and you can have your critical thinking sandblasted off by the power of the state, and there's, like, that's it. Like, if that happens, like, whoa. Great. Phenomenal. Religion's been doing this for millennia. Yeah, it doesn't have to be states necessarily, but no. Alright, let me drop these goods off, then end stream. Am I brainwashed about stuff right now? Well, there's no way to, like, perfectly, reliably self-identify brainwashing or irrationality. But there are decent ways... There are decently effective ways of getting a vibe for it. You know? Sorry to pivot. How can you acknowledge but also think the U.S. soldiers will disobey the genocidal orders of fascists? Wax Newman, I think that's worthy of response. I don't really think there's much equivocacy there, but I can talk about it in the future, because it's kind of complicated. I think the best way, I think, of addressing... of trying to determine whether or not you're brainwashed in any way is to ask yourself hypotheticals. This is why, like, people who are super dogmatic hate hypotheticals. Ask yourself hypotheticals if you would still believe X thing if Y turned out to be true. So test your beliefs by pushing the framework that you believe, like, to its logical extremes. That doesn't mean you have to have perfect answers for everything, because nobody does, but if there are glaring contradictions in some of your beliefs, or if there are things that you just flatly don't believe, even if it seems like you should, that's a good thing to, like, look into, you know? So, like, I'm trying to think of a good example. Hopeless CK, I'll delay it by a day every time you ask. I'm trying to think of a good example, okay? Okay. You can think a good thing of, like, gender roles, okay? That's a good example right there. Mods, you can ban Hopeless CK for a day. They keep asking. They've asked 8 times. That's enough. Gender roles is a really good example. So, if you believe that men and women are equal, fair. If you believe men and women are equal, you know, like in a basic political sense, right? Like not, oh, well, do you think they have the same reproductive organs? But like in a basic political sense, then you should believe that they're equally responsible for their behavior, right? That seems reasonable. I think that's pretty straightforward. So if that's the case, how do you feel about men and women getting wildly disparate sentences in the criminal justice system, right? So a lot of people are principally in favor of the idea of men and women being politically equal, but then like they'll have a bunch of inconsistencies when it comes to punishment. They're more willing to punish men. Implicit bias tests show people tend to be like this for black people as well. Implicit bias against dark-skinned black people. Light-skinned black people are actually not very vulnerable to implicit bias, funnily enough. They are still, but not nearly so much as dark-skinned black people. And light-skinned black people are nearly as likely to commit it against dark-skinned black people as white people are, which is interesting. It's almost like there's a subcategory of dark skin, like light-skinned black people, that are beneficiaries in some severe respects of white privilege. And dark-skinned black people have concentrated all of the negative social like conditions, you know, which is of course really, really dumb. But oh, here it is. Perfect example. When it comes to sexual assault of young boys when done by women, that's a perfect example right there. A lot of people fuck up on this. People will say men and women should be politically equal. It's wrong to prey on children, blah, blah, blah. But then people will be way more tolerant of like a female adult preying on young boys than the opposite. A male adult preying on young girls. They'll be way, 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 way more tolerant, way more permissive. So those are good examples of ways to like test your beliefs to, well, if I really believe this, then would I still believe this if this was the case? You know, if I really think men and women are equal, would I be equally punitive with this next to this or whatever? And I feel like that's a good way of assessing irrationality and inconsistency, and brainwashing tends to to produce both. So, you know.